Chapter 14:18. Tianyan didn't enter the state of cultivation. He planned to walk around and see what the environment here was like. Due to his high cultivation, the effect of a grade 4 God Realm environment on him was slightly smaller. Unlike other cultivators, he wouldn't sit down and cultivate in such an exaggerated manner. When he was about to look at the situation in other directions, a pleasant voice sounded in his ear. Successfully completed main quest, seize grade 4 God Realm token core, upgrade to grade 4 God Realm. Received 100,000 compressed crazy point, 100,000 compressed sin point, 100,000 compressed proficiency. At the same time, obtained a special protective cover. No one can invade the 3 realms God Realm for 1,000 years. Reward for completing a period of time. Receive a super gift pack and unlock the crazy damage mode. Such a pleasant voice made his body tremble. He had to say that for him, this was finally the end of the bitterness. After working so hard for so long, wasn't it for the main quest? There was also the invincible gift pack. He didn't know what was in the gift pack, but he only needed to know the crazy damage mode, which was quite important. Without this crazy damage mode, his strength would be reduced by a lot. I finally completed the main quest. The difficulty is really not small. Tianyan breathed a sigh of relief. It should be a temporary sigh of relief. Only God knows what kind of forces will come after him. Don't forget that Myriad Heaven God Realm and St. Peak God Realm both have powerful backers. Now that he stole the opportunity of 2 God Realms and killed so many heavenly venerables, the other God Realms will definitely be hostile to him. In this case, he would immediately make enemies of 2 God Realms, and he had to admit that the pressure was not small. Immediately afterward, layers of halos appeared outside, erupted from the 3 realms, and quickly spread to the surroundings, forming a layer of transparent shield. Successfully obtained invincible barrier for 1,000 years, can resist any cultivator's invasion, and at the same time can prevent anyone from entering. The invincible barrier was controlled by him, and it could prevent any cultivator from entering. It was a good benefit. However, the time was only a short 1,000 years, and although 1,000 years seemed like a long time, it was still too short for the initial development of a force. Even with the blessing of a grade 4 God Realm environment, it was still relatively difficult to quickly improve. In particular, heavenly venerables were the main focus here. Just having a bunch of divine lords wouldn't make much sense. Looks like I only have 1,000 years to develop. I'll try to develop as much as I can during this period. Tianyan rubbed his head, feeling a little stressed. However, he believed that as long as he had enough resources, leveling up would not be a problem. Let's see what's in the gift bag first. Tianyan turned his attention to the big gift bag. This was something that he was looking forward to. Every time the big gift bag provided something, it would never disappoint. Open the gift bag. Ding. You have successfully opened the gift pack. You have received the cooldown talisman. Can cool down for 1/5 of the time. All godly skills and bloodlines have been upgraded by 1 level. You have cleared the store's number of purchases. Enhance fusion mode can fuse bloodlines. Ding. Level up crazy mode. Due to insufficient level, unable to level up. Ding. Upgrade Dragon God bloodline. Unable to upgrade due to max level. Ding. Upgrade Phoenix bloodline. Due to max level, cannot be upgraded. Ding. Luck aura has leveled up to level 4. Luck effect has increased. Ding. Leveled up teleportation to level 6. Ding. Leveled up void bloodline. A series of godly skills and bloodlines have all been upgraded by 1 level. It's really worth it. Unfortunately, there is a level limit, so it can only be wasted. But overall, it still saved a lot of crazy points. For him, this is still very satisfying. After all, overall, his overall strength has improved a lot. It can be said that he has suddenly become stronger. Of course, the most important thing is cultivation. Cultivation is the foundation. Now he has enough experience to level up, but he is not in a hurry to level up. If the level is too high, the reward for fighting above level is likely to be gone. Although the reward for defeating someone of a higher level was experience points, tens of thousands was tens of thousands. Who would complain about having more experience points? Cooldown talisman. This is a good thing. Tianyan's eyes lit up. It's the super-evolved version of cooldown God Stone. This reduces the cooldown time by 1/5, which means that using 5 of them can immediately cool down the skill. However, this is not suitable for skills with relatively short cooldown time, such as 1-minute cooldown time, but it needs to be divided into 5 cooldown time. That is too much of a loss. This thing is very suitable for the 5 elements core's cooldown time. After using 5 of them in 10 years, he can immediately use it again. But for the time being, he doesn't need this kind of skill. Anyway, he has Invincible Barrier, who can invade him. Upgrade Fusion Mode to Bloodline Fusion. So, can I fuse Dragon God Bloodline and Phoenix Bloodline? Now the effect of his bloodline power is very limited. For example, Dragon God Bloodline can provide 100 times increase in strength. Now it can only provide a dozen times increase in strength. The same is true for Phoenix Bloodline. It can only provide a dozen times increase in speed. This is the problem of the bloodline level limit. The grade is too low, which leads to a significant reduction in the effect. This was the reason why he didn't use his previous martial arts, weapons, or the like. The effect is very weak. Not to say that the power will become weaker, but the effect will become too weak. Those martial arts in the past have been abandoned. After all, can only choose to give up on Dragon God Bloodline. If this continues, he will have to give up on things like Dragon God Bloodline. The effect provided will become lower and lower. There is no difference between using it for nothing. Now that he can fuse bloodlines, what will it feel like to throw the 2 in? Let's try fusing. Tianyan immediately threw the 2 bloodlines in. Even if it fails, it does not matter. The effect will be a little weak anyway. After throwing in, the 2 bloodlines immediately fused, bit by bit in the fusion system. And in a moment, a new bloodline appeared in front of him. Dragon Phoenix Divine Bloodline. Dragon Phoenix Divine Bloodline. Not only has the amazing speed and rebirth effect of the Phoenix race, but also the extreme strength of the Dragon God race. After the 2 fuse, the shortcomings of the 2 will be made up, achieving a new bloodline effect. Current level is first grade, effect. Increase strength by 50 times, speed by 50 times. Has the effect of rebirth. Cooldown time is 10 years. At the same time, can transform into the Phantom of Dragon and Phoenix, has a suppressive effect on the monster race. Chapter 14:19. This fusion system is really good. What if I fuse the Void bloodline with it? Tianyan had a bold idea, that is to fuse all the bloodlines into it, but he chose to give up in the end. First of all, the Void bloodline is not the limit. The effect is still very strong, so it's better not to fuse them. Maybe when the effect is really gone, maybe that's the time to fuse them. This is just like the Dragon God bloodline. The effect is basically very weak. Naturally, it's natural to fuse them. As for other things, he is too lazy to fuse them. For example, the Desolate Ancient set can be fused, but the effect is still too weak for him. Now his goal is the high-grade Heavenly Tao Treasure. These are the most effective. When his cultivation breaks through to Heavenly Master, then he can use Heavenly Master Spirit Treasure. Breaking through to Heavenly Master, I still need a lot of experience. Tianyan looked at the experience he needs. He can still level up 1 or 2, but after leveling up, he still hasn't reached the Heavenly Master level. In that case, it's better to keep it. The next time he kills an Heavenly Master, he can get extra rewards for killing a Heavenly Master. Successfully accepted the main quest. Increase the overall strength of the 3 realms God realm to the true strength of a grade 4 God realm. The goal is divided into 3 levels. For the primary level, there are 15 Heavenly Venerables, 100 Divine Lords, and 1,000 Heavenly Monarchs. For the intermediate level, there are 20 Heavenly Venerables, including 5 middle-level Heavenly Venerables, 200 Divine Lords, and 2,000 Heavenly Monarchs. For the advanced level, there are 30 Heavenly Venerables, 10 middle-level Heavenly Venerables, and 5 high-level Heavenly Venerables. Rewards are 500,000 Compression Crazy Point, 500,000 Compression Proficiency, Direct Upgrade by 1 level, all Bloodline Skills upgrade by 1 level. The difficulty of this main quest made him dumbfounded. Although he was prepared for it, he was still shocked. This means that he needs to greatly improve his overall strength to be able to complete the main quest. Just the primary difficulty alone made him want to vomit blood, let alone the later difficulties. But after completing the main quest, the reward is quite considerable. Especially the second reward and above, unconditionally directly upgrade by 1 level. Leveling up now is definitely the most disadvantageous. The experience required is not particularly heaven-defying. However, he didn't know how long it would take for him to complete this task. At that time, his cultivation would definitely not be at his current level. It was possible that he would break through to the heavenly venerate level or above. At that time, he would be quite satisfied with just 1 more level. As for the last one, it was even more incredible. All of them leveled up. Be it in terms of level or bloodline, they could all be upgraded. This meant that he would definitely save money, and at the same time he would be able to increase his strength by a large margin. This made him quite satisfied, but when he saw the difficulty, his face turned bitter. It was unknown how long it would take to complete this task. Looks like this is going to be the longest mission I've ever taken. Tianyan shook his head, not feeling depressed at all. After all, no matter what, he had to make the entire faction stronger. Otherwise, if he wasn't here, wouldn't it suffer destruction? He had to be strong, but if he couldn't make everyone strong, then the destruction of the 3 realms God realm was inevitable. Tianyan put this matter aside for the time being, and turned his attention to the outside of the 3 realms planet. He had originally planned to investigate the situation outside, but the sudden mission had diverted his attention. Now that he had some spare time, he turned his attention over. After a little investigation, he immediately felt speechless. All the planets in the 3 realms God realm were originally gathered together. They weren't separated, but piled up together. This meant that more than a dozen planets were gathered here. In addition, there were a lot of rubble outside, densely packed in the vicinity. More importantly, they were floating in all directions, like thick walls surrounding them. Those outside couldn't come in easily, and correspondingly, those inside couldn't go out easily. We're really going to expand our territory. Tianyan shook his head. Seeing this situation, he knew that he needed to smash the rubble in this area, or there would be no way to get out. Immediately, he gathered powerhouses above the Divine Lord level, and began to smash the rubble in all directions, smashing it into powder. Region Master Glaze and the others were all involved. As they didn't need to cultivate, they naturally joined in this development. Under the crazy smashing, the surrounding rubble rapidly decreased, and soon they saw a blue planet floating on the side. A new planet. This quickly attracted everyone's attention, and they all flew over. When they landed on this planet, it was filled with surging water attribute energy, and there was even a 4th grade water core embedded inside. 4th grade water core. This is really an excellent place to cultivate water attribute. Region Master Glaze's eyes were filled with ecstasy. Her previous water core was at most 1st grade, which was really too low. Now that there was a 4th grade water core, how could she not be overjoyed? Then I'll leave this water core to Sister Glaze to manage. Tianyan immediately assigned the water attribute to Region Master Glaze. Then I won't stand on ceremony. I'll make good use of this water core, and cultivate a large number of water attribute powerhouses. For example, your wife is very suitable to cultivate here. Region Master Glaze smiled. Tianyan smiled slightly. If Shi Shuyan cultivated with her, she would definitely not be bad, and would only improve by leaps and bounds. Immediately after, they didn't stop, but continued to open up the rubble and spread out in all directions. Being able to find such an excellent planet lifted their spirits. If they continued to develop like this, they would definitely be able to find better resources. As expected, after a while, they found an Earth attribute core planet. There was also a 4th grade core inside, and it was rather precious. It had to be said that this was exciting news, and it made them work even harder to develop further. Who knew how many excellent planets they would find after they developed the entire God territory? These were all excellent places for cultivation, and were more precious than elixirs or anything else. Of course, there were also many elixirs in these planets, and their grades were not low. No matter how trashy a 4th grade God territory was, it would not be lacking in resources, especially these undeveloped planets. These resources had not been mined before, and they would definitely bring him a large amount of resources. This way, It was not a dream to be able to produce a bunch of powerhouses in a short period of time. Very good, very good. Yi Tianyan was getting more and more excited. After he stabilized his 4th grade god territory, he would then aim for 5th grade god territory. 5th grade god territory was the ultimate goal. Chapter 14:20. Yi Tianyan led the group and quickly cleared the area. This would take a long time to clear all the rubble in the entire deity domain. Those with low cultivation could not participate. They had to be at least God Lord. Otherwise, just the rubble alone would be enough to make them suffer. Late-stage heaven monarchs were still able to help, but those who were slightly weaker would probably be smashed flat. As for those below the earth monarch level, it went without saying. They would just be sending themselves to their deaths. If everyone above the star venerate level could participate, the deity domain would definitely be cleared quickly. While clearing the rubble, Yi Tianyan could feel his territory expanding bit by bit. Although he had moved them over, he could not cover most of them with his spiritual sense. He could not move them over directly. After all, this was not like the deity domain below. He had already expanded his territory long ago. Once it became his territory, he could move it at will. It was the same here. The title, I am the Domain Lord, was only effective in a limited area. As he continued to expand, the range of his perception became larger and larger. It looked like the title was still useful here. He had thought that it could only be used below. Now it could still be used here. It did not matter if it was a rank 1 or rank 4 deity domain. After a period of rapid development, piles of rubble were destroyed. Many planets were excavated. There were planets with elemental cores, planets with all sorts of spirit herbs, and many planets with precious ores. These are the most primitive resources, and Yi Tianyan didn't hesitate to accept all of them without any hesitation. This was his territory in the first place. Naturally, he would not stand on ceremony. After the exploration, he would send Lord of Heaven experts to collect them. When the time came, they would accumulate them into contribution points. These were actually missions, a kind of collection mission. Yi Tianyan did not keep idle people. He sent them out to do things. Even if they could not leave, they would stay on the planet and cultivate. Cultivation was also a mission. The time needed to break through, the ranking they obtained, and so on were used as criteria. In a situation where one's cultivation was relatively low, they could only do this. They could not be sent out for collection missions. This was not a grade 1 god realm. Danger lurked in every corner. During the time when he was expanding his territory, Yi Tianyan encountered many powerful demonic beasts, all of which occupied the planets. These demonic beasts were all half-step heavenly venerables, and there were even heavenly venerables. As for divine lords, they were as common as dogs. Without a doubt, this was a difficult process that would take a long time to complete. It was accompanied by all sorts of dangers and problems. There are quite a few guests coming over. At this moment, Yi Tianyan sensed his invincible barrier. Amidst the frenzied attacks, he immediately knew that a guest had arrived. But whether or not it was Empyrean Vast Expanse, he didn't know. He quickly flew in that direction, wanting to see who had come here. He wanted to see if Empyrean Vast Expanse would come over. When the time came, Empyrean Vast Expanse would come over. The appearance of such a huge god's domain would definitely attract attention. Therefore, he was not surprised that there would be cultivators flying over here. As for how strong they were, that was another matter. Following which, after Yi Tianyan gave his instructions, he quickly flew to the edge of God's domain. He was unable to teleport over, so he could only fly over. As he was in a hurry, he barged his way over, smashing all the rocks into powder. As for the planets, he didn't care about them at all. He just got some coordinates and continued flying forward. These wouldn't disappear anyway, so there was no need to be so anxious. Now he just wanted to guide Empyrean Vast Expanse in. He could sense that someone was coming, but he couldn't sense who it was. The territory wasn't his, so naturally, it wasn't something that he could decide. If he waited for all the territories to be opened up, then he would be able to sense it. Actually, after he charged all the way over and opened up a path, it was equivalent to setting the coordinates. At that time, he could casually teleport over here, which was quite convenient. This meant that wherever he went, it was equivalent to opening up a territory, and he could teleport over at will. Places that he hadn't been to before, he could only fly over obediently. While he was flying, there were quite a number of Empyreans constantly knocking on the barrier. No matter how they attacked, they didn't cause any damage to the barrier. What in the world is going on here? A newly emerged divine realm would have this kind of barrier? It's indeed very strange. This barrier is still unbreakable. This daddy already used all of my strength. Why didn't it have any effect at all? Me too, I used all of my strength. Originally thought that I could snatch some cores, or some resources or something. Who knew that I can't even go in? Forget about you guys, that batch at the side has already attacked for a long time and didn't have any effect at all. Ha ha ha. There were many Empyreans at the periphery here, all coming over in batches. They were like cabbages, rows of Empyreans piled up together, attacking the barrier frenziedly. After they knew that a new divine realm came out, they inquired a little and knew that it was a divine realm without any background. They immediately flew over to snatch it. Who knew that flying over and attacking for so long, there was no effect at all. It could not be broken no matter how they hit. Damn it, how can this kind of situation happen? This divine realm annihilated the faction that I bet on. I have to annihilate them no matter what. But we can't even go in now. Attacking with all of our strength is useless. Looks like we need our Lord Celestial Deity to personally take action? If they take action, it won't be something that can be easily resolved. They were the faction that supported the Sacred Peak Divine Realm. They had sent so many powerhouses down to support, but there was no effect at all. Now that they came to annihilate the Three Realms Divine Realm, they realized that they could not enter at all. Not only the Sacred Peak Divine Realm's powerhouses, even the myriad Heaven Divine Realm's powerhouses came over and fiercely smashed the barrier, but there was no effect at all. All of them were looking for ways to break it, such as finding their domain lord level powerhouses. There might be a chance. As for their cultivations, they were generally at the middle heavenly venerable level. There were still relatively few upper heavenly venerables. Even in the grade 4 divine realm, upper heavenly venerables were still relatively rare existences, and their status was extremely high. Lower heavenly venerables were cabbages, but upper heavenly venerables were not cabbages. They were still powerhouses that stood at the peak. Under their frenzied attacks, the effect was negligible, and they could only give up in the end. Only the faction that came for revenge remained here, wanting to break this barrier. If it really did not work, they could only choose to find powerhouses. While thinking about how to break it, Etianyan flew at full speed. After flying for a full week, he finally reached the periphery. It had to be said that this place was quite spacious. With the support of the Kuanpeng bloodline, he could still fly for a week. Chapter 14:21. These Empyreans stared at each other helplessly, not knowing what to do. Some went back to inform their region lords. With their abilities, they could not break the defense at all. They could only wait here foolishly. When Etianyan saw them staring at each other, he immediately laughed out loud. Fortunately, there was this shield. Otherwise, they would have fallen right away. Looking over, there were not 50 Empyreans surrounding this place, but there were at least 40. This was still just one of the regions. There were still other Empyreans in the other directions. This meant that there were definitely hundreds of Empyreans surrounding the vicinity, wanting to come in and get a share of the loot. Some wanted to dig out the core first. After getting the core, they could leave. A grade 4 level core was still rather precious to them. 1,000 years, huh? Etianyan shook his head. After this 1,000 years, they might face this kind of cruel encirclement. Of course, whether it would become like this or not, it would still depend on Vast Empyrean. He swept a glance over, and did not see Vast Empyrean's figure. Clearly, he did not rush over. Looks like he's not here. Look over there. Etianyan started clearing all the way around the periphery. This way, not only could he move over here at any time, but he could also check whether Vast Empyrean came or not. Quickly look, there's a divine lord. It's true. Why is there a divine lord here? Could it be a divine lord from that new divine realm? That's the only possibility. Even we can't break the defense here. How can a mere divine lord possibly break it? That guy, get over here for me. One of the Empyreans shouted at Tianyan, hinting for him to make a trip over. Who knew that Tianyan ignored him and continued sprinting forward, treating him like air. This Empyrean's face immediately turned the color of a pig's liver. He did not expect that his shout was completely useless. Instead, it made the other party run even faster. Damn it, actually not listening to me. That Empyrean was flustered and wished that he could rush over and slap Tianyan to death. But he could not go over at all. Hehe, he's inside the shield. What can you do? The Empyrean at the side shook his head and smiled. They couldn't break him no matter what they did. So what if he was disobedient? What could they do to him? It's all because of this damned shield. I don't even know how I got out. This should have never happened in the past. Why is there an exception this time? I don't know. Maybe it will disappear in a few days? That's very possible. Then I'll wait here for a year, or even a few years. I don't believe that this shield won't disappear. When the time comes, I'll definitely crush that brat to death. How dare he ignore me? The Empyreans all chose to wait, not wanting to miss this opportunity. Such a big fat sheep was right in front of them, but they couldn't catch it or eat it. This made them extremely unhappy. Although they were unhappy, those who had the patience to continue staying here, and those who didn't could only choose to leave. Tianyan continued to sweep through the area. Soon he passed through a large area, but he still didn't see vast Empyrean. He had seen Empyrean vast expanses appearance before, so he naturally wouldn't forget it. Although it was a phantom image, at least it looked real. Maybe Master's injuries are more serious, and he can't make it in time for the time being. Tianyan understood this. If he really couldn't make it in time, there was no need to be so anxious. Anyway, he had a shield here, and no one could enter. There was no need to worry at all. When he wanted to continue going around, a few familiar figures appeared in front of him. Without a doubt, it was Empyrean Jianxi and the others. They were all rushing over here. In addition to them, there was also an extremely familiar powerhouse. It was that vast Empyrean. Vast Empyrean didn't seem to have any injuries on his appearance. He was the same as before, without any changes. However, when he took a look, he was immediately shocked by the data transmitted over. The Great Devis has the strength of a lower heavenly god. Heavenly god. His master broke through to the heavenly god realm. He didn't expect that after that tragic battle, not only did his cultivation not drop, but his cultivation successfully broke through to the heavenly god realm. The heavenly god realm was above the Empyrean realm. After reaching the heavenly god realm, it was a relatively powerful level. Even if they weren't at the level of an area lord, they were at least at the level of a powerful elder. After all, the heavenly god realm was still divided into 3 levels. There were very powerful heavenly gods in the grade 4 god realm. Therefore, in their eyes, Empyreans were still existences that belonged to ants. The wider the world, the more different the levels of cultivation. Tianyan was already used to this. However, now that he saw the power of a heavenly god, he was very shocked. Especially that number, it made his eyes almost pop out. 89 billion star power points. This was still under normal circumstances. When it exploded out, it didn't even exceed 100 billion, or even hundreds of billions. Thinking back to the previous middle-level Empyrean, the combat power that erupted out was about 20 billion. After reaching the heavenly god realm, just under normal circumstances, it was 80 billion. It was really shocking. Sure enough, the further one went, the greater the jump. Previously, it jumped hundreds of thousands, millions. Later, it jumped over hundreds of millions. After the data was changed, it still broke the terrifying level of 100 million. However, this was inevitable. The further one went, the stronger they became. It was impossible for it to become weaker. The number looked really explosive, and it was a little provocative. Now they were all staying outside the shield and couldn't enter. Obviously, they were blocked by the shield and couldn't enter at all. However, they didn't try to force their way in. Instead, they stayed outside and watched. Its little junior brother. Empyrean Swordsman's eyes were sharp. and he quickly saw Tianyan and immediately waved at him. Tianyan quickly flew over and said respectfully, "Greetings, Master, Senior Brother Li Tian, Senior Brother Long Ming, and Senior Brother Swordsy." The great Devis sized him up and said with satisfaction, "Not bad, not bad. To be able to rush up like this, you're really a genius. When they told me, I really didn't believe it. Now that I've seen it, I'm really surprised. I didn't expect to be able to receive such a disciple. It's a great blessing for me." The great Devis didn't have arrogance. Instead, he was quite happy. Such amazing talent, and such an amazing battle record. How could he not feel happy and lucky? If Tianyan became the disciple of another Empyrean, it wouldn't be his turn. Master, if it wasn't for Master's guidance, how could this disciple have such achievements? Tianyan smiled and didn't forget to flatter Master. Chapter 14:22. Tianyan couldn't help but smile at vast heavenly God's personality, and he felt very close to him. He didn't have that kind of utilitarian nature, let alone that kind of arrogance. He was the same as the phantom he had seen before. There was no change. "Master, don't be modest. You have helped me a lot." This was true. The things that the great Devis had left him before were all quite precious. They had helped him a lot, especially those martial arts and the power of a celestial venerable, which were of great help to him. However, he had to admit that he had indeed relied on his own ability to get to this step. The great Devis said so. There were so many unnamed disciples. He was basically the only one who could reach Tianyan's achievements. This had already shown that the great Devis only played a supporting role. Whether he could become a celestial venerable or not depended on himself. Originally, he had to rely on himself. The great Devis had already said at the beginning, "All right, stop being so talkative. You haven't officially become my disciple. If you flatter me so much now, how are you going to flatter me in the future?" The great Devis shifted his gaze to the shield and wondered, "Speaking of which, what is this thing that can actually block us from going in? I remember that this kind of situation has never happened in the new divine realm." "That's right, we've never seen something like this before. It's blocking our way. Although we don't know what it is, we checked it a little. It seems that we can't break it with our ability. The so-called check by Heavenly Venerable Sword Judge, and the others was naturally smashing it a few times to test the feeling. After smashing it a few times, if it still couldn't be broken, then they would not continue to try. The main thing was that this territory belonged to Tianyan. If it was smashed, it would be troublesome. Actually, I don't know either. I only discovered it when I came over." Tianyan casually made up an excuse. He would not tell them the truth. He could not say that it was a gift for completing the main mission, right? Of course, he could not say this out loud. Even Shi Shuiyin did not dare to say it out loud. Some things were best left unsaid. It was fine as long as only he knew it. There was no need to confess everything. Especially these more important secrets, no one could tell anyone else. So it's like this. It seems like the other Empyreans are not going. Even Master is unable to destroy it. Heavenly Venerable Sword sighed and said, "Master's cultivation has already broken through to the level of heavenly deity, but he still can't destroy this place. Of course, he didn't use his full strength. After all, if this was done by you, wouldn't it be troublesome if you destroyed it? How is that possible? If we could make something like that, who would we be afraid of?" Tianyan said respectfully to the great Devis, "Speaking of which, congratulations on advancing your cultivation to the heavenly god level. Ha ha ha, this is indeed worthy of congratulations. Master didn't expect that I would really make a breakthrough. I had been stuck at the late upper Empyrean realm for a long time, but after fighting with that Empyrean death god, I smoothly made a breakthrough. After the breakthrough, my injuries recovered quickly." The great Devis's eyes flickered. It's a pity that Heavenly Venerate God Killer is already dead. Otherwise, I would have killed him myself. If he knew that my cultivation didn't regress, but advanced instead, I think he would be angered to death even if he came back to life. The great Devis laughed heartily again. The other disciples laughed as well. It was indeed a joyous occasion that their master could successfully break through. He had been stuck at the late Upper Empyrean realm for a long time, and he finally succeeded in breaking through to the heavenly god level, becoming an almighty. It seems like we can't enter here. Maybe it's to give you special treatment. As for what the heavens have arranged, we don't know. The great Devis shook his head and said, if that's the case, we won't go in. We just came back and immediately rushed over with Master. Even if it's not the first batch, it's at least the second batch. This place is still quite far. After rushing over, we found that many Empyreans were stopped. We tried a little, but didn't try much, said Empyrean sword ruler at the side. Etianyan nodded. He was very touched by this. It seemed that after knowing, he immediately rushed over. This should be able to enter. You guys can't enter, but I should be able to bring you in. Etianyan walked over and easily passed through the barrier. With a wave of his hand, energy enveloped them, and he brought them in. You can really enter. Isn't the heavens too kind to you guys? You can control this barrier? Empyrean sword ruler and the others were stunned. Even the great Devis was stunned. I just tried it. I didn't expect it to work. Etianyan shrugged his shoulders. I believe that senior brothers know how tough this thing is. We just came up, so it's naturally impossible for us to make it. But I guess that since it's a barrier, it should be protecting us. I gave it a try, and I didn't expect it to work. His explanation was reasonable, and they all believed him. They felt that it was really so. Even heavenly gods couldn't break such a tough barrier. How could Etianyan make it? Now we don't need to worry about anything. We ran all the way here. I just don't know how long it can last. If it's only a few months, it'll be too short. Empyrean sword ruler enviously said. I'm not sure about that. We can only take it one step at a time. At least there's protection. Etianyan smiled. Of course he knew how long it could last. It was 1,000 years. Yes, indeed. At least it'll be safer in the short term. The great Devis smiled. Other than protecting the three realms god realm, I'm also here for the apprenticeship ceremony. Let me ask you again. Are you willing to become a disciple of the vast god sect? Disciple is willing. Etianyan half knelt in the void. He was very willing to become a disciple of the vast god sect. All right. Master will accept you as a personal disciple and impart all martial arts to you. You need to do two things. The first is to never betray the vast god sect. The second is to never embarrass the vast god sect. The vast god's words were sonorous and forceful. Other than that, there's nothing else I can say. Etianyan was startled. These rules were really simple. He didn't say anything else. The rules are so simple? Etianyan was stunned. Sigh. Our vast god sect isn't big, but we have quite a bit of freedom. What rules can there be? As long as we don't betray and are loyal to the vast god sect, what rules can there be? We don't like rules at all. Empyrean sword ruler and the others grinned. Freedom was the key. Chapter 14:23. The simple apprenticeship ceremony ended just like that. There weren't too many rules and regulations. Everything was so simple. As for a greeting gift, I don't have anything good to offer. When you break through to the heavenly venerable realm, I will give you a greeting gift. The great Devis smiled. Hee, junior brother, this greeting gift will definitely satisfy you. Under normal circumstances, only heavenly venerables can become master's disciple, but you are an exception. Therefore, I can't give you a greeting gift. You have to work harder and break through to the heavenly venerable realm. Heavenly venerable Jianxi smiled. Although your overall strength is at the level of a heavenly venerable, that place requires the strength of a heavenly venerable to enter. Even master can't bring you in. Etianyan narrowed his eyes and immediately grasped the message. So it was to bring him to a special place. This wasn't surprising. After breaking through to the heavenly venerable realm, many situations depended on one's own ability. For example, heavenly venerable spiritual treasures were very good, and most of them were refined by oneself. The great Devis could provide materials, but these couldn't be considered greeting gifts. I'm looking forward to this. Etianyan smiled. Cough cough. Apart from that, there's another thing. Is your force willing to join my vastness god sect? The great Devis became serious. Yi Tianyun's words must have been conveyed by Heavenly Venerable Jianxi and the others. However, the great Devis still had to ask once. At the same time, he didn't force it. With the great Devis's cultivation, it wouldn't be a problem to crush Yi Tianyun. He could even replace him, but he didn't do so. Just this little bit of respect was enough for Yi Tianyun to choose to join the Vastness God sect. Disciple is willing. Yi Tianyun agreed without hesitation. Good, good, good. The great Devis was very excited. Then Master will announce to the public that the Three Realms God realm is under the protection of the Vastness God sect. Whoever dares to touch the Three Realms God realm is equivalent to going against the Vastness God sect. Speaking of which, what's the scale of the Vastness God sect like? Yi Tianyun suddenly asked. Once this topic came out, the entire atmosphere became quiet. The great Devis's expression became a little awkward. The other three senior brothers were the same. Yi Tianyun knew that he had said something wrong. He had heard that the vast divine sect was actually a bit shabby, but he didn't know how shabby it was. Little junior brother, we have a total of 5 official disciples of the vast God sect, including you. I've already mentioned this before. As for in-name disciples, there are quite a few of them. It's just that none of them have become celestial lords, so it's only natural that there are fewer of them. Celestial Lord Sword Judge said awkwardly. Does that mean that there are only 5 of us in the vast divine sect? Yi Tianyun asked in shock. Including Master, there are 6 of us in total. Sword Sea Celestial Venerable gave him a look, indicating that it was enough for him to know and not read it out loud. Ahem, it's nothing. My requirements are a little strict, but this is the only way to select outstanding disciples. The great Devis shook his head. It was obvious that he was helpless. The main reason was that some people who broke through to the Empyrean realm didn't come to find him. Who would be willing to join this broken and vast divine sect with so few people and no fixed faction? But now someone had really joined. It was Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun immediately felt a little sad. In that case, it didn't seem meaningful for the vast divine sect to announce to the outside world that the 3 realms were under their protection. Why don't we move the vast divine sect here? Yi Tianyun asked tentatively. No, the great Devis said in a deep voice. Do you think I'll worry about not having enough power to transfer? That's not it. Not to mention becoming a heavenly god. Just being a late-stage upper heavenly venerable was enough for him to join any power. At the same time, he could also reach a very high position. Especially now, he could even become an elder with astonishing power. But he didn't do so. He still maintained the desolate vast divine sect. His purpose made Yi Tianyun remember what Sword Ruler said before. He said that the great Devis had a conflict with the previous faction, and now came out to establish a sect, seemingly wanting to prove something. Thus, he was urgently needed to join in to prove that the great Devis's decision was correct. Celestial Venerable Sword Sea repeatedly signaled him with his eyes, signaling him to stop talking. This time, Yi Tianyun obediently shut up and didn't say anything. There's no need to say any more. You'll know when the time comes. The great Devis said in a deep voice. I'll let you know that your choice isn't wrong. He didn't say much, so they naturally wouldn't ask. Then, Master, do you want to come over to our place now? Yi Tianyun immediately changed the topic. Of course. I originally came here to oversee this place. Other than that, I'll give you some pointers on the situation here. You've just arrived here, so there are many things you need to do. We can help you with many things. The great Devis recovered his smile. Then please give us more pointers, Master. Yi Tianyun said respectfully. Shortly after, they recovered their composure. Under Yi Tianyun's lead, they swept everything in a frenzy. With so many heavenly venerables, they swept away the rubble along the way. Large areas were cleared. If they were constantly helping, the speed of clearing would definitely increase by dozens of times. Especially the power of the great Devis. With a light wave of his hand, large areas were cleared. His efficiency was dozens of times higher than theirs. Yi Tianyun was speechless. Although he knew that heavenly gods were very strong, he didn't expect them to be so heaven-defying. With a flick of a finger, everything turned into ashes. Since they were going to the three realms for a stroll, they naturally helped to clear the rubble along the way. Along the way, a large area was cleared. When they arrived at the three realms, they saw that the area was expanding outwards in an orderly manner. The major planets were continuously being developed. The divine spirit race had carved God's seals on these planets. This way, it would be easier to mine and teleport over. Little by little, it was relatively safe. When they came over and saw this, they were all shocked. "This is your force?" The great Deva said in shock. "Yes, it's all my force. May I know what pointers Master has for us?" Itianyan asked. "What pointers do I need to give?" The great Deva said in shock. "Everything is set up so perfectly. The management is so perfect. What need is there for me to interfere? Looking at this environment, I suspect that you've been to the grade 4 God realm before. Otherwise, how could you be so familiar with it?" "No, we've never been to the grade 4 God realm before. We've just been rolling around in Fanyu, so we're more familiar with this area." Itianyan's tone was full of pride. No one in Fanyu was willing to open up new lands. However, they were able to open up a good environment. Moreover, everything was arranged in an orderly manner. Everything was developed steadily and flawlessly. Chapter 14:24. What Itianyan was most proud of was the fact that the force he was managing could achieve such an achievement in such a short time. It was definitely unique in the outer divine realms, especially since many of his subordinates were very capable in management. This was why he was at ease leaving it to them. Their solutions were definitely more reasonable and perfect than his. From the praise of the vast Empyrean God, one could tell how outstanding this group of people was. If even a heavenly god thought so, what else was there to say? The great Devas did not judge them based on their cultivation, but on their management. He had retired from a large force and knew the advantages of a large force in terms of management. Thus, he wanted to guide them in this aspect. Who knew that the three realms' divine realm was so perfect? If they were a little stronger, they could really develop by leaps and bounds. "Oh, there's a divine spirit clan?" The great Devas's eyes lit up. "Yes, this disciple saved them a long time ago. Now they are joining my force and working hard together." Itianyan did not hide anything. The great Devas saw through all of this. The divine spirit clan. They were originally all-powerful in the inner divine realm, but now they have become a declining clan. I don't even know where they are now. The great Devas shook his head and sighed. "What? The divine spirit clan that was established here is gone?" Itianyan was shocked. Of course, the divine spirit clan was very good, but in the face of the suppression of an extremely powerful force, they can only decline. The great Deva sighed. Suppression of an extremely powerful force? Itianyan was stunned. What kind of force? A 5th grade God realm force. The great Deva said simply and crudely. A 5th grade God realm force? Itianyan held his breath. He did not know what the standard of a 5th grade God realm was, but judging from the standard of a 4th grade God realm, it was already quite terrifying. Yes, a 5th grade God realm force. Everything originates from the existence of the strongest. The great Devas shook his head. Ultimate position? Itianyan was quite surprised by this. There were too many unsolved mysteries. That's right, we call them God Emperors after breaking through to the heavenly God realm. A supreme existence, one and only in the divine realm. The great Devas's eyes were filled with yearning, but he was afraid that he would not be able to reach this level. God Emperor. Not to mention Itianyan. Even Heavenly Lord Swordsmanship and the others couldn't help but be fascinated. Celestial emperors were above heavenly gods. They were the strongest existences in the celestial realm, and there was only one of them in the entire celestial realm. This meant that whoever became the God Emperor would be the king of the God realm. Whoever dared to defy him would be directly suppressed. Master, are you saying that in order to break through to the God Emperor realm, there were almighty experts in grade 5 God domain forces who would go on a rampage to plunder resources and bloodlines? Itianyan guessed. That's right. A grade 4 God realm expert might seem powerful, but to a grade 5 God realm expert, it's no different from slaughtering dogs. The great Deva smiled faintly. Of course, most grade 5 god domains wouldn't do that, and they wouldn't care about it. The last battle was just an exception. It won't happen this time. Naturally, at that time, it wasn't only the godly spirit race. Many other powers were almost wiped out as well. Basically, the cards were reshuffled. The boundlessly vast heavenly deity side. A few moments ago, they were still extremely glorious, but now, they were in decline. Eteonyan nodded and didn't say much. He originally thought that there would be forces from the God Spirit clan here, so that it would be easy for the two clans to contact each other. It seemed that it was impossible now. But after thinking about it carefully, he realized that it was true. If there was a powerful God Spirit clan above, they would have sent people down to pick them up, or strengthen the management of the forces. Now no one was sent down, allowing the God Spirit clan in the outer divine realms to decline. It meant that this place was also declining. Just as he was about to continue his research, he suddenly felt a powerful force constantly battering against the barrier, wave after wave. His expression changed. It was obvious that someone had sent a powerhouse over. The powerhouse was madly attacking the barrier, trying to break it. Little junior brother, what's wrong? They immediately noticed that something was wrong with Eteonyan. I feel someone attacking the barrier here, trying to break it. Eteonyan didn't hide it. He wouldn't hide it. You can still sense it? They were a little surprised. He could still sense it from so far away? I can sense it a little. I guess they think I'm a region lord, so they let me sense it a little more. Eteonyan said with a smile. It can be so magical. Then let's go and take a look. The great Devis didn't say much. The world was big, and there were all kinds of strange things. Immediately after, they flew over, clearing the rocks along the way. With the great Devis leading the way, their speed was definitely increased to the extreme. It only took them less than half a day to reach their destination. As soon as they arrived, Eteonyan immediately felt a terrifying energy wave, constantly attacking from the front. It passed through the invincible barrier, and was released toward them. Since they were all blocked, all he could feel was a gust of wind, and he didn't feel much. A heavenly god? Eteonyan looked up and immediately saw a heavenly god madly attacking the barrier, smashing it again and again, but he couldn't break it. It didn't even crack it. The person in front of them was indeed a heavenly god. His cultivation was also at the lower heavenly god level. He wasn't much stronger than the great Devis. In terms of overall strength, the great Devis was slightly stronger, mainly because the great Devis had just broken through not long ago. If he continued to consolidate his strength, he would definitely surpass the heavenly god in front of them. It's heavenly god Wu-ing from the flowing wind god realm. He supports the sacred peak god realm of the outer god realm. He used all his strength, but it didn't break at all. This barrier is really strong. The great Devis was shocked after seeing it. The other Empyreans were also like this, all of them deeply shaken. This barrier was just too sturdy. Even a heavenly god couldn't break it. What the hell is this? It can't be broken at all. Who set it up here? Heavenly god Wu-ing continued to attack for a while, but he couldn't break it at all. After wiping his sweat, his eyes were full of disbelief. This is too strong. I used all my strength, but I couldn't break it at all. Heavenly god Wu-ing, how about we work together? At this time, another heavenly god appeared beside him. Heavenly god Jingsun. Heavenly god Wu-ing narrowed his eyes. Heavenly god Jingsun was a supporter of the myriad heaven sacred realm. They were considered enemies, but now they were talking about working together. Chapter 14:25. Facing Heavenly God Jingsun, Heavenly God Wu-ing chose to nod in the end. He had used all his strength and still could not break this barrier. So he could only choose to cooperate with Heavenly God Jingsun. He definitely did not want to cooperate with Heavenly God Jingsun, and Heavenly God Jingsun also did not want to cooperate with Heavenly God Wu-ing. However, they could not break the barrier now, so they could only choose to cooperate. They hated the three realms celestial realm to the core, and their relationship was not very good. They had to at least destroy the three realms celestial realm first before making any plans. Okay, I agree to cooperate with you. After we break the barrier, We will focus on destroying the three realms celestial realm first, and then we will talk about other things. Heavenly God Wuing said in a deep voice. Of course, we will definitely focus on destroying the three realms celestial realm first. Heavenly God Jing Sun shifted his gaze inside, and saw only a pile of rubble. Immediately, the two of them began to unleash their strongest power. The power of the heavenly gods gushed out, and was released in all directions. The heavenly venerables at the side all dodged, not daring to get close in case they were affected. Then, the two of them aimed at one point of the barrier and attacked fiercely at the same time. Their powers quickly mixed together and condensed into their strongest move. When the two heavenly gods' moves erupted, the terrifying power even made the space of the fourth grade celestial realm show signs of collapsing. I hope it will not be broken. Tianyan and the others watched the show from inside, and did not immediately go out to stop them. Originally, the great Devas wanted to go out to stop them, but he stopped him. Mainly, he wanted to see if this invincible barrier was really invincible. If it was broken, he would have to change the plan that he had set before. Boom. The terrifying power came crashing down, but the thick barrier was not deformed at all. It only trembled slightly, and the terrifying power was dispersed. There was not a single crack on the barrier. It was completely intact. Not only was it completely intact, but the two heavenly gods were also sent flying, and the recoil force made them a little dizzy. Unfortunately, this power was not completely reflected, or they would have been seriously injured. It was ridiculous to think that they were seriously injured by their strongest move. Useless? The two of them were dumbfounded. The two heavenly gods' attacks had no effect at all. They believed that their explosive strength was not weak. Even a very strong Empyrean spirit treasure would be smashed apart by a single punch. But now, it didn't have any effect at all. It only caused a slight fluctuation. This was just too terrifying, causing all of them to be stupefied, including the vast heavenly deity and the others. I don't believe it. It's impossible that I can't break it open. They immediately continued to attack madly, smashing the same place repeatedly. They wanted to achieve the effect of destruction by continuously attacking the same place. In the end, after a few fierce attacks, there was no effect at all. However, they didn't stop and continued to attack. Each of them gave it their all, and their combat power soared to the level of 100 billion astral power. However, they still couldn't break open a single crack. This situation completely changed their views. It's really tough. Fortunately, we didn't smash it, otherwise we would have wasted our efforts. Heavenly Premier Swordlord and the others had wanted to rush out to stop the barrier from being smashed apart. These barriers could only be maintained for a period of time. It would be bad if they were destroyed prematurely. Now that it had been smashed for a period of time, there was not a single mark left on it. Instead, they were extremely surprised. It could only be said that the heavens were too kind to the god realm of the three realms. As expected of an invincible barrier. It's really invincible. Tianyan gasped, feeling very surprised. It seemed that there was really nothing to worry about now. After smashing for a few days, they finally stopped. The energy in their bodies was basically exhausted, so they had no choice but to stop. Damn it. After smashing for so long, there's no effect at all. How is this thing formed? Could it be that the heavens really put it here? They had strange expressions. This was the only conclusion they could come to. They absolutely didn't believe that a newly ascended god realm would have this kind of ability. In addition, even they couldn't do it. How could a mere new god realm have such a standard? This is the only possibility. Their expressions were ugly. They thought that they would definitely succeed, but now it seemed that there was no effect at all. According to this, they could either give up or continue to recruit people to join forces and smash it. However, if it was really the heavens who set up the formation, not to mention finding people, it would be useless even if they continued to find a group of powerhouses. The heavens were not the power of the heavenly Tao. The power of the heavenly Tao was only a representative of one level. Their cultivation was very strong, but didn't they still need to go through the heavenly tribulation? Even if the heavenly tribulation was created by the heavens, it could still strike them to death. Therefore, they were a little afraid and didn't dare to act recklessly. Not going to continue smashing? At this time, the great Devis and the others flew out. There was a hint of mockery in his tone. Vast heavenly venerate. No, you have broken through to the heavenly god realm. Heavenly deity Jing Sun and the others looked at the great Devis who came out and said in surprise, "How did you get in?" Compared to this breakthrough in cultivation, what shocked them the most was how the vast Empyrean god was able to enter. They couldn't break it, so how could the great Devis get in? How I got in is none of your business. But let me make it clear today. The Three Realms God Realm is my force. From today onwards, the Three Realms God Realm will be under the protection of the vast heavenly sect. Whoever dares to attack the Three Realms God Realm will have to go against the vast heavenly sect. The great Devis said solemnly, when the time comes, we will go all out to suppress them. We will absolutely not compromise. Towards the end, his tone was extremely stern, as if he was a king who couldn't be violated. They were stunned. They didn't expect that there would be such a level of relationship. The great Devis is talking big. If it was in the past, we would be a little afraid. But now that you have come out from the heavenly cultivation god realm, the meaning is different. Do you think you are still relying on the heavenly cultivation god realm? Heavenly deity Jing Sun's tone was full of mockery. He wasn't afraid of the great Devis at all. The great Devis had broken through to the heavenly god realm. But no matter what, he was just one person. They had many experts. I can still make a name for myself without relying on the heavenly cultivation god realm. If you don't believe me, then come and try. Of course, you have to destroy this protection first. The great Devis waved his hand. Let's go. Then they left, leaving heavenly deity Jing Sun and the others behind. This guy is too arrogant. Does he think he is still staying in the heavenly cultivation god realm? Let's continue to attack this protection. I don't believe we can't break it. They were furious. Even if they wanted to cause trouble, they had to break this layer of protection first. Then they continued to attack fiercely, venting their anger. Yi Tianyan and the others didn't hurry to leave. Instead, they hid at the side and observed the situation. The heavenly cultivation god realm. Chapter 1426. Yi Tianyan and the others hid on the side and watched. Although the great Devis said so, they still had to observe the situation to avoid any accidents. However, after watching for a while, the defense was unbreakable. No matter how they attacked, there was no damage at all. This made them sigh. This thing was too sturdy. They didn't know what kind of strength was needed to break through it. It looks like we can't break through it. We'll guard here for a while. If there are no problems, we won't stay here any longer. The great Devis didn't want to control this place. It was just like Empyrean Swordsy and the others said. The vast Empyrean god did not have such intentions. He just wanted to prove himself. This was probably related to the heavenly god realm. It looks like we need to investigate this heaven-cultivating god realm. Yi Tianyan nodded. He was a bit interested in his master's influence. After staying for a while, they returned to the Three Realms to rest. In fact, they only needed to sit for a while before they joined the team to destroy the rocks. With them joining, everything was a lot easier. It wasn't just them. Even the great Devis personally took action. This made Yi Tianyan feel a bit embarrassed. Letting a celestial do the work of clearing the rocks was too embarrassing. It was like letting your master do the work of sweeping the floor. How could it be embarrassing? However, the great Devis didn't mind at all. He was in a good mood. Although he wasn't personally teaching them, they were still his disciples. Not only was their talent amazing, but they could also bring him such honor. How could he not be happy? Anyway, there was nothing to do. They couldn't stay here forever. While they were at it, they helped strengthen the defense and cleared the rocks. The great Devis's divine inscriber level wasn't low. He had reached the 6th grade, which was quite amazing. Thus, with his help, all aspects of the divine seals had improved considerably. The god spirit race's attainments in divine seals were good, but their cultivation was too low. If their cultivation was too low, their grade couldn't be increased. Some required a lot of energy to carve. Therefore, they needed to increase their own level. After all, the strongest member of the divine spirit race, was only a half-step heavenly venerable. He hadn't even become a heavenly venerable yet. If he could make a breakthrough, his attainments in this aspect would definitely reach a whole new level. At present, it seemed that Empyreans would soon appear. With such an excellent cultivation environment, breaking through wouldn't be too much of a problem. With the help of so many experts, the speed of clearing increased greatly. However, it would still take a long time before they could finish clearing everything. The god territory assigned to him couldn't be small. Even with Etienne's cultivation, it would take him a few days to fly to the edge. Furthermore, it was flying in a straight line. If it were to spread out in a circle, the range would be extremely terrifying. Therefore, it would take a long time. In this state, it would take at least a few years to completely clean up. This was also based on the premise that the great Devis and the others had helped. If they were to leave, the time would immediately increase by several times, and it could be as long as 100 years. There were still too few divine lords in the three realms' divine realm, so it would take a long time. Regarding this, Etienne was not in a hurry. He could take his time. With the help of the great Devis and the others, they would clear as much as they could. There was no need to be in a hurry. After cleaning for a few months, they finally stopped and did not continue to clean the area. The rubble had not been completely cleared. There were still a lot of rubble that had not been cleared. They only helped to clear a path, dig out the planets one by one, and clean up the surrounding rocks slightly. To put it bluntly, their main goal was to dig out the planets and open up a path. As for the other rubble, they could take their time. As long as the normal path was dug out, it would be enough to make use of these planets. In any case, there was nothing good in these rubble. They were just a pile of broken rocks. Of course, some of the rubble was ores, which could be used as good materials. The overall situation had already made Etienne quite satisfied. After a slight calculation, there were a total of 13 planets in this god territory. It wasn't a particularly large number. However, every planet had a core. Just this point alone was enough. Quantity wasn't about quantity, but quality. If there were only planets, it wouldn't be meaningful without a core. On the other side, there were no more heavenly venerables and heavenly gods attacking the barrier. They couldn't destroy it at all. Naturally, they could only leave dejectedly. At the same time, they arranged some people to keep an eye on this place. They didn't believe that the barrier could be maintained forever. Once the barrier disappeared, they would immediately send people over to attack. The mighty name of the divine sect was of no use at all. A total of 13 planets. It's a little less than other god territories, but the overall situation is still okay. The great Devis nodded. Actually, it's already very good for this disciple to be able to come up here successfully. Etienne smiled and said, the god territory that I was in previously didn't have so many high-grade cores. He had dug out many cores before, but those were all dark cores. How could they be used here? Yes, a contented person is always happy. The great Devis smiled and nodded in satisfaction. The rest is up to you guys to mine. With the help of many resources here, it's enough for you guys to use for a long time. This is all thanks to Master and Senior Brother's help. Otherwise, I don't know how long it would take for us to clean up. Etienne said gratefully. Little Junior Brother, these words are too unfamiliar. Since we're all from the same sect, there's no need to say so much. Heavenly Venerable Sword Judge and the others smiled. After a brief chat, the great Devis said, it's about time. We should go back. It seems like the barrier here can't be destroyed. God's toys can't be easily broken. During this period of time, they saw that heavenly deity Jing Sun and the others were exhausted and unable to cause any damage. This meant that the defense was absolutely solid. There was no need for them to keep guarding here. Master, can this disciple go back with you? Etienne asked hurriedly. That's not a problem. The divine sect is your home, but your god territory. It's fine. I believe you've seen this place. Do I need to worry? Haha, that's right. In that case, I'll bring you back to the divine sect and let you see what Master is capable of. The great Devis smiled. Chapter 14:27. Tianyin left with the great Devis. After all, there wasn't much point in staying here. There was a powerful barrier here that even heavenly gods couldn't break. It could last for thousands of years, so there was nothing to worry about. If something really happened, they could teleport back. The teleportation godstone was too convenient. There was no need to worry about not being able to return. It could be used in the outer divine realm, and it could be used in the inner divine realm. There was no difference. When Shi Shuiyun and the others knew that Tianyin was leaving, they didn't say anything. They have always supported Tianyin unconditionally in everything he does. Therefore, Tianyin had always been very touched. After all, they trusted him unconditionally. He definitely couldn't let them down. When the great Devis left with Tianyin, they were immediately seen by many people. They were quickly reported, but they didn't dare to stop them. There was a heavenly god here. Who would dare to stop them? They wouldn't even have time to run, let alone stop them. News has come back. The boundless heavenly deity has come out. Should we stop them? Stop my ass. What's the use of stopping them? We can't get in. But how did they get in? Did they get let in by someone from inside? That's possible. Unless we catch one of them and use it to bring us in. That's not a problem. According to the news, one of them is only a divine lord. He looks unfamiliar. He's definitely not from the vast divine sect. After all, they only accept heavenly masters. Then find a chance to catch that kid and lead the way for us. One by one, the divine realms turned their attention to Tianyin. They all wanted to catch him and threaten him to lead them into the divine realm of the three realms. Soon they sent people out to follow Tianyin. They wanted to catch him and threaten him to lead them into the divine realm of the three realms. The great Devis didn't think too much. He summoned an Empyrean spirit ship and flew towards his territory. Under such circumstances, speed was the fastest. Among Empyrean cultivators, besides Empyrean spirit treasures, there were also Empyrean weapons. It was extremely difficult to create, and it required a very strong ability. Those who were rich would carry several Empyrean level weapons, while those who were poor could only use Empyrean spirit treasures. Empyrean spirit treasures were the most practical and the cheapest. Although their effects weren't the strongest, if they were nurtured properly, their grade wouldn't be low. But under normal circumstances, Empyrean level treasures were the strongest and most effective existences. Of course, the price was the highest. The higher the grade, the more shocking the price. In terms of grade, it was low, mid, and upper grade. It was no different from before. The spirit ship that the great Devis used now was only a low-grade spirit ship. Although it was on a completely different level, its speed was astonishing. It was much faster than his 10,000 gods pagoda. They were not on the same level. This might have something to do with cultivation, but among those of the same cultivation level, he was definitely far ahead. After all, this thing was more specialized, and the materials used were rarer than Empyrean spirit treasures. Under the eruption of power, it completely shuttled through the void, passing through a large region in the blink of an eye. It was definitely a divine tool for traveling. It would take at most several hours to pass through a divine domain. It was quite terrifying. No wonder they rushed over so quickly. The speed of passing through this thing was still very fast. The great Devis definitely wasn't poor. Otherwise he wouldn't have such a spirit ship. Although the speed was amazing, it still took more than a week to reach the vast divine sect. This was enough to prove how far this distance was. Along the way, Tianyin saw many divine domains. Many of the planets here were already withered and had no resources at all. They looked very miserable. Are all these divine domains abandoned? Tianyin asked as he saw so many planets being abandoned. He knew that the situation here was very bad. There were many resources, but there would also be a day when they were used up. More or less. Time is long, and it is impossible for all divine domains to always prosper. There will always be a time when they decline. However, these seemingly abandoned divine domains might have good opportunities. Empyrean Sword Ruler explained from the side. Empyrean Force and the others weren't good at speaking. They weren't as lively as Empyrean Sword Ruler. However, if they were asked, they would basically answer without any problems. Similar to Inheritance Ruins? Etienne's eyes lit up. It seemed that these places weren't rare. More or less. Just casually look around, and you might even find some treasures. This was the result of the War of God Emperors. Whether it was Grade 4 or Grade 5 divine domains, many of them were quickly destroyed. Many of them were filled with danger, but they were also accompanied by many opportunities. If you don't have formidable strength and casually wander around, only death awaits you. Some places seem peaceful, but they are filled with the energy of powerhouses. Once they sweep over, you will die if you aren't careful. Empyrean Sword Ruler smiled, but his eyes were filled with fear. It was clear that he had sensed the danger. So it's like that. Etienne nodded. He understood the basic situation. In the War of God Emperors, in order to have a God Emperor appear on his side, they crazily plundered resources and bloodlines. As a result, many treasures were left behind. At the same time, a lot of dangerous energy was also left behind. Hence, along the way, they could see many broken planets. All of them were traces of the past. As it was too dangerous, they usually targeted newly ascended forces, which were much safer. As they chatted, they finally arrived at the Myriad World's divine domain. A very domineering name. This place was indeed divided into different worlds of different sizes. It was quite peculiar. When Etienne was first brought in, he saw many space-time gates instead of planets. It was quite peculiar. Some of the space-time gates in front of him were blocked by guards, while others were unguarded. When the great Devis came to an empty area, he waved his hand, and a space-time gate appeared in front of him. Then he followed them in. After entering, it quickly closed up. After entering, what came into view was a vast and boundless world. The key was that there were space-time gates of different sizes inside, and no one knew where they led to. There were also countless zigzagging walkways here, which were clearly similar to the heavenly sovereign path. Below, there were many cultivators walking forward step by step. This stunned him. Didn't they say that there were only a few of them in the vast divine sect? Little junior brother, you're surprised, right? There are indeed only 5 of us in the vast divine sect. These can't even be considered disciples. It's a bit like Fanyu. Let them climb up step by step, and there are even countless small worlds, small empires, and the like. They climb up from the very beginning. Empyrean Sword Ruler explained. Here we are gods who have been watching over this place, watching them grow. Chapter 1428. This place was like a mini-mortal realm. There were many continents here, and there were endless cultivators, killing each other and seizing resources. Everything was no different from Fanyu. They climbed up layer by layer, and ascended to a vaster world. In fact, the vaster world was still the inner world. Everything followed the layout of the Great Devis, and they climbed to the peak step by step. At the same time, this place was like the outer divine domain, with worlds superimposed on each other. The Great Devis basically didn't interfere, and allowed them to develop. Occasionally, he would create some inheritances and let them unearth them. The Great Devis was like a creator, allowing them to climb step by step. It was like creating a brand new world system, allowing them to exist in its own rules. Etienne immediately knew what the Great Devis's goal was, and that was to cultivate a large number of powerhouses that belonged to him. Especially from the beginning, they would cultivate the various martial arts that he gave them and cultivate according to his own rules. This meant that in the future, they would be able to perfectly inherit his legacy without any rejection. From this, it could be seen that the vast divine sect could be said to have no one, because those who were truly useful were not at the heavenly venerable level or above. In this 4th grade divine domain, they wouldn't be able to cause too many waves. Similarly, it could be said that there were many people who had the possibility of becoming his disciple, and they all had the opportunity to break through to the heavenly venerable level. But no breakthrough was no breakthrough. It was useless to say anything else. Therefore, Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler and the others only said that there were only 5 people in the sect. According to the rules, these cultivators were staying in the vast divine sect, but they didn't know that they were staying in the vast divine sect. Therefore, there were a total of 5 people. Master has something to do first. After the Great Devis finished speaking, he disappeared into the void, going somewhere unknown. The other two senior brothers also left, leaving Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler to accompany Yi Tianyin for a tour. Looking at the departing figure of the great Devis, Yi Tianyin sighed. There are probably very few people who are as patient as Master. Yi Tianyin shook his head. From the simulation of Fan Yu's forces to the simulation of the God realm, everything was extremely realistic. The world in front of him was the same as Fan Yu. There was no energy from a grade 4 God realm. Hence, there was no God realm baptism or anything like that. This meant that from the very beginning of body forging, he would need a lot of time to temper himself. That's right. Basically, no one would do what Master did. Basically, they would start from scratch. It's too difficult, and the other forces won't do it. Heavenly Venerable Sword C explained from the side. Master is extremely patient. He likes to temper and grow bit by bit. The most important thing is to nurture disciples that are most suitable for him according to his pace. Although we are both disciples, there are some aspects that we are unable to meet Master's standards. When Yi Tianyin heard this, he couldn't help but shake his head. He had to admit that the great Devis was too patient. If he frequently interfered in nurturing, it would be fine. But if he allowed them to develop, who knew how long it would take? If it were him, he wouldn't do that. It would be better to manage and nurture them to quickly improve their overall strength. Who knows how long it will take to nurture a heavenly venerable? Even with martial arts, it's still a little difficult. Yi Tianyin shook his head. If he found geniuses and nurtured them with more effort, who knew how many powerhouses there would be? He knew that the great Devis's teaching standards were definitely not bad. It wouldn't be difficult to nurture a heavenly venerable. It is indeed difficult. After so many years, only one heavenly venerable has appeared. You can imagine how difficult it is. Heavenly Venerable Sword C smiled bitterly. Fortunately, Master didn't limit himself to this place. He also recruited geniuses from other god realms. But there are too many thoughts here, to the point of fanaticism. They even nurtured a heavenly venerable. Could it be that heavenly venerable? Yi Tianyin was startled. He immediately thought of the senior apprentice sister that he hadn't seen before. That's right, our second senior apprentice sister. She is below senior apprentice brother Li Tian. She is an expert that can only be chosen through layers of selection. Senior apprentice sister is really strong. She perfectly inherited Master's legacy and has great attainments in this aspect. Heavenly Venerable Sword C said solemnly. Compared to senior apprentice brother Li Tian, second senior apprentice sister is even stronger. Whoever joined first would be ranked according to the ranking. Therefore, even heavenly venerables with stronger cultivation had to call her senior apprentice brother. How can she be bad if she can perfectly inherit Master's legacy? Yi Tianyin agreed. The great Devis would definitely teach and nurture a perfect disciple. That's right. That's why second senior apprentice sister is very monstrous. She has already reached the mid-stage upper heavenly venerable level. She's almost an all-rounder. Heavenly Venerable Sword C trembled. Overall, she's not bad. It's just that she's a little strict and doesn't like to smile. Talking to her is a little stifling, a little like talking to her master. So exaggerated. Yi Tianyin sized up Heavenly Venerable Sword C. He was actually someone who was afraid of his senior apprentice sister. It's not exaggerated at all. Senior apprentice sister is right here. You'll see in a while. Heavenly Venerable Sword C said solemnly. It should be because she has always been influenced by Master. That's why she's so like Master. Yi Tianyin pondered for a while and suddenly said, did Master fall out with the Heaven Cultivation God realm because he wanted to create the world he wanted? It's easy for this to happen when there's a difference in ideals. Something like that. I don't know the details. It must be a difference in ideals. Otherwise, how could he come out of such a powerful god realm? The Heaven Cultivation God realm is ranked in the top 5 among the grade 4 god realms. Many heavenly venerables fight over it, but they can't become an elder. Master gave up the position of an elder, so it's enough to see how big the problem is. It seems like it's really like that. Yi Tianyin nodded. It was more or less what he had guessed. What Master wants is more powerhouses who rush up from ordinary existences. Heh, as expected of little junior apprentice brother. It's clear immediately. Indeed, selecting geniuses and nurturing them can basically nurture a good cultivation base. But Master isn't willing to do that. He lets them grow up bit by bit. Whether they're talented or talented, he doesn't favor them. Also, senior apprentice sister's talent isn't very good, but she became an upper heavenly venerable. How incredible! The heaven cultivation god realm needs invincible and heaven-defying geniuses. If they aren't super geniuses, they definitely won't accept them. Master chooses disciples with perseverance and hard work. It's a completely different philosophy. Chapter 1429. If the great Devis left in a fit of anger due to the difference in ideals, it meant that he had fallen out with the heaven cultivation god realm. Such boldness was really valiant. Abandoning such a powerful force and coming out alone to create a force, he would definitely be heavily suppressed. Recruiting disciples and whatnot was extremely difficult. Going out from here, how could he possibly give the great Devis a good attitude? Not hunting him down was already merciful enough. I still admire Master very much. He actually still has this kind of thinking. Master is a super genius to begin with, and at a very monstrous level, yet he is interested in the so-called perseverance. If it were other geniuses, they would be disdainful of these things and only look at talent. Talent has always been unique. If you don't have talent, you will be directly denied. All along, many god realms have judged it this way. Master is really a weirdo, playing such a game. Heavenly Venerable Swordsea's eyes were full of admiration and worship. He did not deny the great Devis's ideals in the slightest, but he was very impressed. Mainly because Heavenly Venerable Swordsea's talent was only at the middle level, but he was still chosen by the great Devis. Yeah, it's very admirable. Tianyan was also very impressed. After knowing about it, he felt even more that joining this place was the right choice. Because this philosophy was the same as what he thought. Talent was indeed very important, but hard work and perseverance were even more important. Immediately, Heavenly Venerable Swordsea brought him around to look around. This place was like piecing together worlds. With the great Devis's strength, creating this kind of world was not difficult at all. On the contrary, it could be said to be quite simple. It was still very simple for an upper-level Heavenly Venerable to create these. Moreover, now that he had broken through to the heavenly deity realm, his control in this aspect was undoubtedly a level higher. After looking around along the way, it was indeed a rather perfect world. All aspects could be said to be perfect to the extreme. Looking down to observe those cultivators, each and every one of them was living a normal life, completely unaware of what kind of world they were in. However, such conditions were still much better than staying in the Fanyu. At least, the great Devis still deliberately arranged many martial arts and so on. In the Fanyu he completely relied on himself to explore and snatch, which was even more difficult. When they passed through the gate of time and space and arrived at another new world, they immediately sensed a powerful force. It's senior sister. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi's body trembled, and he cried out involuntarily. What? Am I that scary? In the air directly in front of them, a beautiful woman was sitting there meditating. When she saw them, she slowly opened her eyes, and a soul-stirring gaze pierced through them, as if she wanted to see through them. Tianyan felt this power. It was indeed very familiar. It really felt like he was facing the great Devis. His aura was very peaceful, but the aura of a superior was on the same level as that of the great Devis. It was easy for people to look up to him. Heavenly Venerable Swordsea coughed lightly and said, "Greetings, senior sister." Heavenly Venerate Yuqian stood up slowly and said, "Yes, this must be little junior brother. Master has made an exception and accepted you as a disciple. You're really the first one." "Greetings, senior sister," Tianyan said humbly. "It's all thanks to Master lowering the standards. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been chosen." "Don't say such things. I've heard about you. Your comprehensive ability is very strong. Your boundless god art is also cultivated to a very high level. It has even reached the 5th level." Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian's beautiful eyes revealed some excitement. Cut the crap. Let's have a fight. Huh? Huh? Yi Tianyan was stunned. Fighting as soon as they met. What the hell was this? There's one more thing I forgot to tell you. Senior sister is a battle maniac. She often fights with us. It's really the kind of people who don't get to know each other through fighting. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi hurriedly dodged to the side. They were preparing to fight, so how could he not hide further away? Junior brother Jian, where are you going? Speaking of which, we haven't fought in a long time. Why don't we give it a try now? Let's see if you've made any progress recently. That move of yours before was very good. Come and spar with me. Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian's eyes shone brightly. Her fighting spirit soared, and her aura immediately rose. This scene scared Heavenly Venerable Jianxi so much that he immediately ran away. He said, I just finished participating in the Divine Realm battle. I'm a little tired. I'll come again next time. Before he finished speaking, he had already disappeared. This caused Yi Tianyan to wipe off his cold sweat. No wonder Heavenly Venerable Jianxi was so afraid of senior sister. How could she not be afraid of being beaten up every day? It was one thing if a man was a battle maniac, but a female cultivator was also a battle maniac. Just thinking about it was terrifying. However, this should be caused by the environment. To climb up from the bottom, the things she had to experience were extremely cruel. This caused her character to be warlike. Want to leave? Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian's figure flashed, and she chased after Heavenly Venerable Jianxi at an even faster speed. She directly blocked his path and said with a smile, If you are injured, I can help you heal. Did you forget that I can heal? Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian stretched out her hand, and a green light emitted from her hand. It was surging with vitality. She could actually heal? Senior sister, I'm just mentally tired. I can't recover for the time being. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi was about to cry. The disparity between him and Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian was too great. Fighting with her was completely looking for a beating. Stop pretending. Who are you trying to fool? Who are you trying to fool? Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian sneered and said, I see that you are in good spirits. Let alone one Divine Realm battle. You can even fight 2 Divine Realm battles without a problem. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't know what to say. Yi Tianyan was dumbfounded by the side. This senior sister of his was really crazy. It seemed like they really suffered a lot of beatings. As for the other 2 senior brothers, they were nowhere to be seen. They probably didn't stay here at all, and chose to leave. If they continued to stay here, there was an 80% chance that they would be beaten up. No, don't we still have Junior Brother? Junior Brother is very powerful. You can exchange moves with him. I guarantee that you will be satisfied. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi's gaze turned to Yi Tianyan. Yi Tianyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi actually threw the blame to him. It seemed like he was really beaten up badly. Junior Brother will definitely exchange moves. It's just that you have to fulfill your promise. Have you forgotten? Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian waved her fist and said, Don't say any more. Prepare to warm up with me. Heavenly Venerable Jianxi wanted to cry. When he thought that he would definitely be beaten up, Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry and the others appeared at the side and said with a solemn expression, Inform Master, the people from the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm are here. The people from the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm are here. Chapter 1430. Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm? Yi Tianyan and the others were stunned. They didn't expect the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm to come over at this time. It didn't look like a good thing. Now that the Great Devis and the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm were in a deadlock, it couldn't be a good thing. Yi Tianyan immediately judged that it was likely related to him. They didn't usually look for him, but now they came. Coincidentally, it was not long after he came up, so they naturally thought of him. Yes, the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm sent someone over. Quickly inform Master. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry's expression was solemn. Okay, I'll go find Master now. Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian nodded. and immediately turned to look for the great Devis. In a short while, the great Devis flew over with a similarly solemn expression. Clearly, he felt that the people from the heaven cultivation divine realm were not a good thing. Let's go and take a look. The great Devis's tone was calm, without any big fluctuations. Soon after, they went out of the space-time gate. They saw two powerhouses outside just as they came out. Both were upper heavenly venerables. Their cultivation was incomparably powerful, and their auras were even more domineering. Fourth Elder. When the two saw the great Devis, they greeted him. I said before, I'm no longer your fourth elder. The great Devis said coldly. Just because you don't admit it doesn't mean that you're not. The Domain Lord still misses you very much, especially the Domain Empress. She misses you even more. Heavenly Venerable Commandment's attitude was very respectful. Domain Empress? The Domain Empress was the Domain Lord's wife. A wife was worried about the great Devis, which proved that their relationship was not shallow. It was extremely likely that they were mother and son. The great Devis was the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm's young lord. This news was very shocking and surprised them. Heavenly Venerable Sword Judge and the others felt that it was very inconceivable. For so many years, they didn't know the real situation. Now that they heard such shocking news, it really shocked them. Thinking about it carefully, it was really so. If an elder chose to leave, how could he be casually allowed to leave? His martial arts would probably be crippled. This was more or less the same as betraying the God realm, but nothing happened to him, which was enough to prove that his background was not weak. I know, but why are you here this time? The great Devis's expression was indifferent. The purpose of our visit this time is very simple. The Domain Lord hopes that you can return and stop fooling around outside. One of the Empyreans said. Fooling around? For so many years, you thought I was just fooling around. I won't go back. Go back and tell the Domain Lord and the others that I will prove that my point of view is correct. Moreover, I will never forgive them for the mistakes they made in the past. The great Devis's aura suddenly erupted, making them feel incomparably pressured. Upper Empyreans were very strong, but in front of celestial deities, they were like toys, easily kneaded. They frowned but didn't retreat. Instead, they stiffened their backs and said, Fourth Elder, we came here with a mission. Apart from asking you to return, the most important thing is for us to manage the newly arrived God realms. Finally, they revealed their true intentions, and that was to set their sights on the divine realm of the three realms. Finding the great Devis was one thing, but taking over the three realms' celestial realm was the real key. Impossible. The great Devis rejected coldly. I knew that you guys didn't come with good intentions. You still want to take over my faction? Don't even think about it. Fourth Elder, this isn't right. No matter what, you are still a member of the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm. Your faction is under the management of the Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm. The other party's confidence immediately rose, and they didn't even use honorifics. Scram! The great Devis roared angrily, sending them flying and almost vomiting blood. A celestial deity's roar made them feel their blood boil, and they felt like they were about to collapse. Their bodies almost exploded because of this, and it was just a roar. After the two of them were forced back, their faces were pale, but they still didn't choose to avoid. Fourth Elder, don't forget who it was that gave you this achievement today. You can be safe and sound here. Who gave you? The Domain Lord and the others can ignore your faction, but the new divine realm must take over. They weren't afraid that the great Devis would kill them. No matter what, the great Devis wouldn't do anything to them. Etienne's eyes narrowed. There was no doubt that they were interested in the resources inside. The more the better, and it was very safe. How could they not want it? Under such circumstances, they immediately wanted to take over. Once they took over, they would definitely chase all of them out. They definitely wouldn't stay. The great Devis wanted to prove himself, but he was forcibly taken back. However, he indeed proved himself, and proved that he had many factions. Then he was taken away. Of course, the great Devis still wanted him to go back. No matter what, he was a celestial deity, and a rather powerful one at that. Oh, then if you have the ability, why don't you go and take it yourself? When did I stop you? The great Devis sneered. No one could break that shield, so he didn't have to worry about being robbed. They were stunned. Then their faces darkened. Fourth Elder, you know the answer. That shield can't be broken at all, but you can enter at will. This means that you have control over it. You can let us go in and take over that divine realm. The great Devis waved his hand. A surging force swept out, and the two of them were sent flying. They vomited blood and suffered light injuries. Get back to where you came from. Bring my words back. The divine realm won't be given to you. Give up on this thought. The great Devis snorted coldly. He didn't care about them anymore. He turned around and returned to his own world with his people. The two celestial venerables could only go back dejectedly. They didn't dare to continue to force their way in. The great Devis was too powerful. In the past, they could still stop him. Now they couldn't resist at all. Go back and report to the domain lord. There was a ball of anger in their hearts. They wanted to let people come and flatten this place, but it was impossible. Not only was the great Devis extremely powerful, but his parents were domain lords, who dared to mess around. They could only suppress their anger and leave. Master, heaven cultivating divine realm probably won't let this go, said Celestial Venerable Sword C. I know that. As long as they want it, they won't give it up. Especially such a huge divine realm's resources. The great Devis shook his head. His eyes were filled with determination. But it's useless. I'll rush back as many as come. The great Devis was that stubborn. He wouldn't let go of something he had set his mind on. However, they believed that heaven cultivating divine realm would definitely come again soon. They just didn't know what the next time would be. As expected, in a few days a powerhouse came personally. His cultivation was at the heavenly god level. His status was basically on equal footing. At least, he wouldn't be blasted away with a wave of his hand. Fourth Elder, long time no see. The heavenly god in front of him had a cold expression. He looked a little cold and disdainful. So it's the third elder. I wonder what business you have with me this time. When the great Devis saw the person who came, his expression became cold. His attitude became even worse. It's very simple. You come back with me. Then, it's to hand over the control rights of the new divine realm. The third elder was heavenly god Lung Yan. He emitted a cold aura from head to toe. Chapter 1431. Impossible. Third Elder, if this is your purpose for coming here, please go back. The great Devis waved his hand and immediately rejected Lung Yan's request. I knew you wouldn't agree, but Fourth Elder, do you think you can keep hiding? Some things must be faced. If you want to prove that you are right, go back and prove yourself. You don't have much time left, Lung Yan said in a low voice. Don't forget the oath you made back then. Vast heavenly deity remained silent, not saying anything. After Lung Yan finished speaking, he turned and left, not fighting with the great Devis. Tianyan and the others looked at each other, not knowing what the great Devis wanted to do. They knew a little about Lung Yan's words, but they weren't very clear. Looks like it's about time to go back. The great Devis sighed deeply. Master, what's wrong? They were all confused. It's actually a matter of an oath. Back then, I made an oath that I would nurture an expert that would shock them. I would prove that my decision wasn't wrong, but correct. The great Devis said. What kind of disciple are you going to nurture? Isn't senior sister quite suitable? Heavenly Venerable Jianxi asked doubtfully. I don't fit. Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian's eyes dimmed, a little disappointed. Then what kind of conditions do you need? They were all stunned. If Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian didn't fit, who else could? The condition is actually very simple. The disciple I nurture must be able to defeat all the geniuses in the cultivation heaven divine realm. Yu Qian is very strong, but he's still a little lacking, the great Devis said. I just want to prove that ordinary people can still achieve something. A true expert doesn't just rely on talent, but also on hard work in all aspects. It's not some absolute genius theory. Yu Qian is very good, but if given some more time, he might be able to meet the requirements. However, there's not much time left, so it's time to make a trip. The great Devis sighed, feeling a little unwilling. Shortly after, the great Devis explained the general situation. The content was relatively simple. From the very beginning, it was because of differences in ideology. In the cultivation god domain, only heaven-defying geniuses would be accepted. Perhaps they would be chosen as ordinary disciples, but they would definitely be core disciples. They would definitely be super geniuses. The great Devis said that even if one's talent was average, one could still surpass everything with hard work. Diligence could make up for one's lack of talent. As long as one worked hard and comprehended diligently, one could still soar. It might be slow, but that didn't mean that there wasn't a chance. They should give these people a chance. It wasn't that he didn't want someone with amazing talent. It was definitely a good thing to have someone with amazing talent, but he couldn't completely reject those with average talent. Sometimes perseverance could really create miracles. Unfortunately, his argument was completely rejected. No one would accept his opinion. The main reason was that with the same amount of resources, the effects would be better if they were given to those with astonishing talent. Given to those with average talent, the effects would naturally be average. No one was willing to do that. Instead of hoping for a miracle, it was better to focus all of their energy on those with strong innate talents. That way, their chances would be higher. Those with amazing talent might not be able to become powerhouses in the end, but they would definitely have a better chance than those with average talent. For instance, there were some with amazing talent who were stuck at the late Divine Lord realm, unable to become an Empyrean. Such examples could be found everywhere. But the number of Empyreans did indeed come from this group of people. As for those with average talent, it was difficult to produce even one. This sort of business wasn't worth it at all. In the end, the great Devis had a falling out with the cultivation heaven divine realm. He said that he would do it himself. He had to prove to them that he could raise a disciple that surpassed all of their other geniuses. The cultivation heaven divine realm's domain master had given him a chance. At most he would be given 10,000 years. This was around the same time as one divine realm battle. Now that one divine realm battle had already passed, it was about time for him to do so. The original agreement was about to be fulfilled. Would he be able to complete it? At the very least, Empyrean Wuxia wasn't strong enough for him. Facing an even more monstrous genius, he was still a bit lacking. Although that's the case, I still have to brace myself. It wasn't that the great Devis didn't have confidence in Empyrean Wuxia, but that time was too short. To come out and establish an independent sect required an extremely long time. Even if he spread out his net, he still wouldn't be able to find too many disciples. The Empyrean Tao was one of his ideas. He wanted to find powerhouses with astonishing willpower. What he required was that their willpower was absolutely strong enough. Talent was useless. The most important thing was willpower. Willpower didn't mean talent. Who says there isn't anyone? Isn't little junior apprentice brother one? Little junior apprentice brother. He can absolutely beat up those at the same boundary. Empyrean Sword Order suddenly suggested. At this time, everyone turned to look at Etianyan. Even Etianyan was stunned. Thinking about it carefully, Etianyan could indeed beat up those at the same boundary. Even Empyreans had been blown apart, much less those at the Divine Lord level. If the other party was a monstrous genius that could also beat up an ordinary Empyrean, then there was at least a chance. Me. Etianyan pointed at himself and said in astonishment. Yes, little junior apprentice brother is master's disciple, and he was even raised from the outer divine regions. I reckon that even the cultivators from the outer divine regions wouldn't be willing to accept the cultivation heaven divine region, right? This is the same as master's point of view. In their eyes, the outer divine regions are all trash, ordinary people without talent. As long as little junior apprentice brother beats them, they will have nothing to say, right? Empyrean Sword Order's suggestion was so clever. This seems to be the case too? The great Devis' eyes lit up. He looked at Etianyan and said, "Are you willing to help master with this?" "Of course, no problem." Etianyan smiled and said. He was very interested in the forces of the fourth grade divine regions. It just so happened that he could make a trip to the cultivation heaven divine region and see how their overall strength was. Anyway, he had nothing to do. It was quite a good idea to make a scene at the cultivation heaven divine region. Good. When the time comes, everyone will go on stage and give it your all. Prove to them that my disciple is definitely not weak. Fundamentally speaking, all of you are considered to have come from the outer divine regions, so you all meet the requirements. The great Devis narrowed his eyes and said, but Tianyun's situation is different. He has the strength to contend with Empyreans, so defeating a divine lord-level monstrous genius won't be a problem for him. If Tianyun participated, the selection would definitely be based on the cultivation of the divine lord level. If they all sent Empyreans to fight, it would obviously be unfair. Chapter 1432. After making the decision, the great Devis asked them to get ready. They would be going to the cultivation god realm soon. Tianyun did not let them lead the way this time. Instead, he wandered around casually to see the environment. Sometimes he even immersed himself in the life here, and felt the feeling of the beginning. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you trespass into our imperial city? When the powerhouses saw Tianyun coming in, they were all shocked. They did not know when he came out. Tianyun smiled. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. They were all stunned. No one knew what had happened. Walking in the human world is not bad. These worlds did not pose any threat to him. If it was before, entering these areas without permission would be a dead end. After walking around, he felt like going out to see what the situation was like in the myriad worlds god realm. After all, each space-time gate represented a different world. Maybe other worlds could bring him quite a surprise. When he passed through the space-time gate and appeared in the myriad worlds god realm, the heavenly venerables squatting outside were startled. They finally saw Tianyun coming out. This kid came out alone. He's really gutsy. Let's see what happens first. Maybe the others will follow. Alright, let's wait and see. If we alarm the great Devis, we're done for. They did not want to alarm the great Devis. Otherwise, they would be dead for sure. Soon after, they quietly followed quite stealthily. However, just as they followed, Tianyun immediately sensed them. He did not stop. He just smiled and walked forward. There's really a guy who doesn't know death. I can earn some experience. Otherwise, it won't be fun at the cultivation god realm. Tianyun began to fly further away, pretending to fly to other space-time gates. He was getting further and further away from the vast divine sect. This guy is really alone. It seems like they think nothing will happen? God knows. It's about time to attack, right? If this kid enters other worlds, it won't be easy to deal with him. Yes, surround them now. We must capture them alive. Don't kill them by mistake. Understood. A mere little divine lord dared to wander around here. He was truly audacious. I wonder if the vast divine sect is too confident in their own forces. Or is it too confident in this kid? Haha, I think it's because they are too confident in the mighty name of the vast divine sect. They laughed presumptuously. Taking advantage of the fact that Tianyun had not entered the other dimensional door, they quickly rushed over and surrounded him, completely sealing off all his escape routes. Brat, come with us obediently. Otherwise, we won't mind giving you a good beating first before capturing you. The one who spoke was a middle-level Empyrean. The other 3 middle-level Empyreans surrounded him. Dispatching 4 middle-level Empyreans all at once could be considered very extravagant. Their original target was a divine lord, so it was impossible for them to send a powerhouse that was too strong. They could only send a middle-level heavenly venerate, so that they could do things more efficiently. Oh, what do you want to do? Tianyun looked at them and smiled faintly, as if looking at 4 fat sheep. Originally, he just wanted to roam around. He did not expect that there would still be people sending experience over. Then he would not be courteous. They even thought that Tianyun was afraid, so they smiled and said, very simple. As long as you bring us into that newly emerged divine domain, we'll let you off and spare your life. We can even give you a few high-grade heavenly Dao-level weapons or martial arts. We guarantee that you'll be satisfied. This way, even if you're viewed as a traitor, you won't lose anything. This sounds pretty good. Tianyan nodded his head in satisfaction. But in his heart he did not believe these people's nonsense at all. At that time they would definitely silence him. How could they possibly let him off? Right now, they were just using the simplest coercion and enticement to lure him into the bait. Of course it's not bad. We mean what we say. As long as you're willing to agree, everything is fine. One of the Empyreans saw that Tianyan was moved and said with a smile, "If you can bring us to find the new divine domain's domain lord, that would be even better. At that time, the rewards will be a little more." The other party stretched out 3 fingers and said with a smile, "We'll give you 3 high-grade heavenly Tao level treasures, as well as quite a number of excellent materials. We guarantee that when you break through to Empyrean, you'll be able to refine an Empyrean spirit treasure yourself. This business is very worthwhile, right?" They very much wanted to force it, but if they did not let Tianyan bring them in, there was no way to go in at all. Furthermore, they had never seen the domain lord before. To catch bandits, capture the ringleader first. They definitely had to capture the domain lord first. At that time they could control the entire divine domain. Indeed, not bad. Then you can hand over the treasures now. I'll be the new divine domain's domain lord. Tianyan nodded seriously and said, "What?" They were taken aback. Immediately, one of them smiled coldly and said, "You're messing with us. Do you think we're fools? You think you're the domain lord? The cultivation of the new divine domain's domain lord is not weak. It's at least at the heavenly venerable level. You're just a mere god lord, and you're telling me you're the domain lord? Looks like you're tired of living. Do you really think we won't dare to make a move?" "That's right. With your cultivation, you still want to be the domain lord? If you're the domain lord, I'll be a heavenly god. Idiot." They completely did not believe Tianyan's words. A god lord being the domain lord was simply a joke. Just as they finished speaking, they only saw a blur in front of them. Following that, a long spear pierced through the body of one of the heavenly venerables. Before the other party could react, the spear had already swung rapidly and easily killed another heavenly venerables. Ding! Successfully killed a mid-level heavenly venerable. Obtained experience. Piles of experience points popped up. Tianyan lightly swung the long spear in his hand, looked at them indifferently and said, "The first one." They were stunned. Such terrifying strength. Where was the shadow of a god lord at all? Quickly capture him. They hurriedly revolved their strongest powers, wanting to suppress Tianyan. But Tianyan's strength had increased tremendously. When his bloodline and whatnot burst forth, his speed was instantly increased to the extreme. They could only see a few afterimages. Bang bang. In the blink of an eye, another 2 heavenly venerables were easily killed. It was as easy as slaughtering dogs. In the blink of an eye, only the heavenly venerable in front of them was left. "You. How is this possible? You're just a god lord. How can you have such powerful strength?" Chapter 1433. You've become a heavenly god? Scared the other party silly. How could he have become a heavenly god? It was all nonsense. Let alone becoming a heavenly god. It was already good enough for him to break through a small level. How could I become a heavenly god? The other party trembled, feeling like he was about to collapse. Judging from this strength, he was definitely at the upper heavenly venerable level. Otherwise, how could he kill them instantly? Now he believed that the Tianyan in front of him was the region master of the 3 realms god realm. If not, how could he have such heaven-defying battle prowess? Rumor had it that the region master of the 3 realms god realm was very strong. Everyone thought that he was at the upper heavenly venerable level. Who would have thought that he was a divine lord? This made him unable to believe it. Who would believe that a divine lord could lead a god realm to charge straight to a grade 4 god realm? Even if his cultivation was not extremely strong, he should at least be at the late stage heavenly venerable level, right? If he did not even have this standard, how could he lead the 3 realms god realm up? But that was the truth. For a divine lord to achieve such an achievement, it was shocking. Oh, then go and die. Tianyan would not leak the good news to him. He wanted everyone to think that the region master of the 3 realms god realm was an extremely powerful existence. This way, he could easily conceal his identity and think that he was a small fry. The Kuan-Pung bloodline burst forth. After the bloodline upgrade, his speed was even more shocking. In the blink of an eye, he pierced through the enemy, easily killing them without even seeing them. At the same time, he turned them into piles of experience. He could earn a huge sum of money. Not bad, I've gained another batch of experience. The more the merrier. If there are more of them, I won't have to look everywhere. Yi Tianyun smiled in satisfaction. These enemies delivered themselves to his doorstep. As for charging into their god realm and slaughtering them, that was not very likely. If he angered those heavenly gods, it would not be easy to deal with them. With his current cultivation, heavenly gods were still too strong. He could not deal with them at all. Once they were sealed, he could not even teleport away. Now that he had killed this group of people, even if they found out, it would not anger the heavenly gods. It would only be because he was too weak and did not care about their lives. The stronger the cultivator, the more they cared about their reputation. Unless he came knocking on their door, he couldn't afford to lose face if he personally went to crush them. After killing them, Yi Tianyun continued to fly forward. Just like before, he randomly entered a space-time gate that was not guarded. His original plan was to just wander around, but after killing them, not only did his mood not worsen, it actually became even more carefree. With so much EXP delivered to his doorstep, how could he not feel happy? Soon after, he casually entered a space-time gate, and what entered his eyes was indeed a world. He had just entered, and he immediately noticed that the environment here was extremely beautiful, with birds chirping and flowers fragrant. The environment was extremely comfortable. There's a rank 5 core underground? This is incredible. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He didn't expect to encounter such a good world. Sir, are you planning to buy a residence here? As soon as Yi Tianyun entered, a beautiful lady walked over to him with a smile on her face. Her attitude was very respectful. Buy a residence? Yi Tianyun was startled. He turned his head and looked around. Indeed, there were mansions, and it looked like a residential area. There were not many cultivators coming and going. Whether they went out or returned, they directly returned to their mansions, not wandering around outside. It seems that this is the first time you've come here, sir? In this area, as long as it's empty, you can buy anything. The price is calculated based on the location and area. Lu Rong explained in detail. I just came in to take a look. He thought it was something else, but it turned out that it was just a house seller. No wonder they spent so much money to place a rank 5 core underground. It was to attract cultivators to come here to live and cultivate. If one wanted to cultivate here, they would have to spend a lot of money to buy it. Otherwise, they could forget about cultivating here. Lu Rong's smile froze, and her beautiful eyes revealed a bit of disdain. Casually wandering around, it was very likely that he was just here to look, not to buy. Then please go ahead, sir. But you can't look for more than an incense stick's time, or you will have to pay an extra price. Lu Rong's smile disappeared, replaced by a cold expression. She had already determined that Yi Tianyun was here to take a look. He definitely wouldn't buy the type of house. Looking carefully, he was only a divine lord. How much area could he afford? Only an incense stick's time? Yi Tianyun frowned. Wasn't this time too short? While he was afraid that some people would purposely sneak in to check out the territory, but in reality, they were only here to cultivate. However, wasn't the duration a little too short? Yes, only an incense stick's time. There's not much time left. Please hurry up. Lu Rong was a little impatient. Yi Tianyun was a little unhappy. Wasn't this attitude a little too bad? But if this was the rule, he didn't care too much. He turned around and looked around. He was a little interested in this place. He wanted to inspect it and see what attribute core it was so that he could absorb it and make use of it. Just as he was about to leave, a group of guests walked over. The leader was a mid-stage inferior Empyrean powerhouse. After coming in, Lu Rong immediately greeted him with a smile. Sir, are you here to choose a place to stay? Lu Rong asked warmly. We came in to look around and see if this place is good. The inferior Empyrean said. Then please feel free to look around. Do you need me to lead the way? Lu Rong said with a smile. No need. We'll just look around. Is that okay? The Empyrean said. Of course, but according to the rules, we can only stay for a day. I hope you understand. Lu Rong smiled. One day is enough. They understood the rules here. They definitely couldn't stay for too long. One day? Didn't you say it was only an incense stick's time? Tianyan interrupted. He felt very unhappy. Why was the treatment so good? The other party could stay for a day, but he could only stay for an incense stick's time. Can you compare with the Lord? I said I'll give you an incense stick's time. Please leave when you're done looking. Lu Rong didn't give him a good look. In a situation where she was judged to have no purchasing power, she definitely wouldn't give him a good look. The Empyrean next to her also smiled disdainfully. Although he didn't say much, from his expression, one could see that he was extremely disdainful of Tianyan. He felt that a poor person actually dared to come here. If he wanted to come here, he should look at his own pockets first. Chapter 1434. The moment Heavenly Venerate Mighty Sky entered, his powerful aura pressed down on them. The faces of the Heavenly Venerates changed as they hurriedly moved to the side. The aura of an upper-level Heavenly Venerate was enough to suffocate them. Lu Rong's eyes lit up as she hurriedly went up to greet him. My lord, did you come here to take a look, or do you want to choose a place to? Heavenly Venerate Mighty Sky ignored them as he walked up to Tianyan and asked worriedly. Junior brother, are you alright? I sensed a battle just now, so I rushed over. I clearly sensed your aura. Were you ambushed? Yeah, I was surrounded by 4 Heavenly Venerates. Tianyan smiled faintly. But I'm fine now. I've already dealt with them. They're just some small fries. Lu Rong and the rest were stunned. An upper-level Heavenly Venerate had rushed over and called Tianyan junior brother. This meant that they were from the same sect. Disregarding how low Tianyan's cultivation was, just the fact that he had such a powerful backer meant that he could do whatever he wanted in the myriad realm's celestial realm. Most importantly, the last part of the sentence was even more shocking. He had dealt with 4 Heavenly Venerates? Wasn't he just bragging? Even if they were just lower-level Heavenly Venerates, how could a God Lord deal with them? They were all dumbfounded by the scene in front of them. For a moment, they couldn't wrap their heads around it. This matter was too impactful for them. That's true. With Junior Brother's strength, dealing with these small fries shouldn't be a problem. Heavenly Venerate Mighty Sky smiled and nodded. Just as they were about to say something, a Heavenly Venerate at the side trembled and asked hurriedly, May I ask if you're Heavenly Venerate Mighty Sky from the vast divine sect? That's right, I am. Is there a problem? Heavenly Venerate Mighty Sky frowned. He didn't like interacting with these people. No problem. On the other hand, congratulations to your master for successfully breaking through to the Heavenly God level and bringing the vast divine sect to new heights. The Heavenly Venerate said respectfully. There were many worlds in the myriad realm's divine realm, but it didn't mean that powerhouses were everywhere. If one had an upper-level Heavenly Venerable, one could basically do whatever they wanted. As for having a Heavenly God as his master, there was no need to even mention that he could beat up anyone he didn't like. The vast divine sect? Elvie Rong was even more dumbfounded. She felt a chill in her heart. She might not be able to recognize Heavenly Sovereignly, but she had definitely heard of the vast divine sect. Now it could be said to be a well-known name in the myriad realms of the gods. The reason was very simple. There was a Heavenly God. Not only that, the requirements for choosing disciples were extremely strict, so there had been very few disciples for a long time. The Sir God in front of him was actually a disciple of the vast divine sect. Regardless of the criteria, being able to become a disciple of the vast divine sect was an extremely impressive feat. The Empyrean, who had been looking at Tianyan with disdain, suddenly felt a chill in his heart. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Luckily, he hadn't said anything. Otherwise he wouldn't even know how he died. Thank you for your congratulations. Heavenly Paragon Force cupped his fists in greeting. Since the other party had already congratulated him, he couldn't possibly slap him, right? After saying that, he looked at Tianyan. His originally stern expression quickly turned into a smile. It was a treatment that was completely different from the one he had given to other people. Little junior brother, what are you doing here? Heavenly Paragon Force frowned. The environment here is not bad, but it is still a far cry from our vast divine sect. A 5th grade core is not bad, but Master has several zones with 5th grade cores. There is no need for you to buy a place here. The vast Empyrean deity was an Empyrean deity after all, and he was also an elder who cultivated the Empyrean deity territory. How could he be poor? I'm just going to look around here. If it's suitable, I'll buy a house here. Tianyan said with a smile. All right, the prices here are not considered expensive. Tell me which place you like, and I will buy one for you. Heavenly Paragon Force smiled. There is no need for that. I can still afford it. Tianyan smiled. No, you brought me little Wu. That kid is very hardworking. I am very satisfied. If it wasn't for little junior brother, I wouldn't have been able to find such an outstanding descendant. Heavenly Paragon Force smiled happily. He couldn't help but laugh when he thought of little Wu. Of course. Little Wu is extraordinarily hardworking. I could tell that his future was limitless a long time ago. Tianyan smiled. In that case, don't fight with me. Tell me which place you like. I have to buy it no matter what. Heavenly Paragon Force said stubbornly. All right, I will tell you after I choose. Tianyan nodded. Since Heavenly Paragon Force had said so, he couldn't refuse. Then it's settled. When the time comes, just let the people here send the price to the vast divine sect. Heavenly Paragon Force patted his shoulder and turned to leave. Tianyan smiled and shook his head. He was about to walk inside. At this time, LV Rong hurried over and smiled sweetly. Sir, may I know which place you are looking for? I will personally take you to have a look. Her attitude immediately changed greatly. She almost knelt down to worship him. No need. I can do it myself. I only have 30 minutes to look around. It's a short time. Tianyan said indifferently. No, you can look around as you please. Let alone a day, you can even stay for a month. LV Rong was about to cry. She regretted it so much. Who would have thought that Tianyan was a disciple of the vast divine sect? Is that so? Isn't she going to leave in 30 minutes? Tianyan said indifferently. No, please forgive me. It's all my fault. I was too narrow-minded and couldn't see through you. LV Rong hurriedly apologized. No, let her take me there. You can stay with the other customers. Tianyan waved his hand and signaled a waiter to come over. Yes, sir. She was definitely not the only one here. There were quite a few of them waiting for customers. However, LV Rong often snatched customers. She could only wait at the side. Now that she finally had the chance, she immediately rushed over to accompany Tianyan. LV Rong really wanted to cry. Not only did she lose the order, she also offended a disciple of the vast divine sect. That was the main point. If the owner of this place found out, she would be dead. Chapter 1435. Tianyan casually strolled around the area. In fact, he wanted to carefully study the attribute of the core here. It was not easy to check from the entrance. The appraisal eye was not so powerful that it could see through layers of seals. As for why he could sense that it was a 5th grade core, it was not difficult to sense it from the aura alone. After walking around, he finally found out that the core below was a thunder attribute core. A 5th grade thunder attribute core was the attribute he had always wanted to obtain. Although he had the 5 elements cores now, the thunder attribute core had not been cultivated to perfection. He had always wanted to fill in the gap. The thunder attribute was also very important to him. It could greatly enhance his strength. Who would complain that they were too strong? Therefore, he had been looking for thunder attribute cores to absorb and cultivate. The vast sacred sect had several 5th grade cores, but they only had 2 basic attributes. Both were within the 5 elements, which did not meet his requirements. Moreover, they were only 5th grade. His 5 elements cores were 6th grade, and their effects were even stronger. Not bad, it's a thunder attribute core. Tianyan's eyes lit up. He immediately picked a place. The area he chose was not big, but not small either. If he wanted to stay here, the place he bought could not be small. If he only bought a place to meditate, it would be full of people. After all, he only needed a small place to cultivate. The rest were just decorations. This is the place. Go back and quote the price to Heavenly Venerate Li Tian. Yi Tianyan gestured to the lady beside him to let Heavenly Venerate Li Tian settle the bill. Yes, Lord. The lady was very excited. She turned and left quickly. She had finally accepted a job. After she left, Yi Tianyan simply built a house here. The house was very simple. It was like a simple shell. Because this was not the point of entry, there was no need to be so luxurious. He just wanted to condense the thunder core. Once it was condensed, he could leave. Therefore, he immediately started cultivating after entering. As he meditated, the thunder attribute energy underground was quickly drawn out and absorbed into the thunder planet in his body. There was already thunder and lightning inside. Now even more thunder attribute energy was swimming inside. Not bad. Yi Tianyan was very satisfied. Then he focused on cultivating. As the days passed, the thunder core in his body grew stronger and stronger. Finally, with a roar, the thunder planet became extremely huge. The core was replaced with a 5th grade one. The terrifying cohesion was several levels stronger than before. He did not increase his cultivation level, but just the increase of these planets was equivalent to increasing his cultivation level. The effect was quite shocking. The secret to killing opponents of a higher level was naturally that one's foundation was very strong, which was why they were able to do it. It's about time to leave. Just as he got up and was about to go back, a special energy fluctuation surged toward him from the side. It was coming from the residence on the side. This energy seems to be a light attribute core? Yi Tianyan immediately sensed what it was. This energy was too obvious. He immediately walked out and arrived at the residence next door. He stretched out his hand and knocked on the door. Immediately, a girl opened the door and looked at Yi Tianyan up and down. She asked curiously, "Young master, is there anything I can help you with?" "Excuse me, but I wonder if I can see your master?" Yi Tianyan asked. "I'm sorry, but my master is not seeing guests. Please go back." The girl nodded apologetically and quickly closed the door, ignoring Yi Tianyan. Yi Tianyan was speechless. It seemed that he would not be able to see his master unless he forced himself on him. However, after observing the residence, it was decorated quite elegantly. It was snow-white and looked very clean. In addition, there were many arrays set up to seal the place. Simple probing would not be able to penetrate it. Or once it did, it would immediately be detected. Probing the residence of others was a very rude thing to do. It was very easy to incur the wrath of others. This was like probing the energy in someone else's body. Whoever dared to do so would be courting death. Unless the person was an elder, it would be different. If the person's cultivation level was similar, and they did not have a good relationship, probing casually would lead to a fight. No, let's see what's inside. Yi Tianyan was very interested in this energy, because there were 2 places in the 3 realms waiting for him to break. One was the dark trial, and the other was the light trial. There was the aura of the light attribute core. If he could get it, he would be able to strengthen his ability in this aspect. Therefore, he had to find a way to get it. As for the dark core, he actually already had it. He had previously plundered many dark cores from the evil spirit race, and stored them in his inventory. When the time was right, he would immediately absorb it. He would not absorb it for now. He would choose to absorb it when his cultivation level increased. Sometimes, if his cultivation level was too low and there were too many planets, it would be difficult to control it. It was not a good thing when one's control was weak. Immediately, he quickly returned to the house and began to use his spiritual consciousness to secretly probe inside. He wanted to see what was going on inside. When his spiritual consciousness touched the array, it seeped in bit by bit. He thought it would be more difficult to penetrate, but he did not expect it to be so easy. He even penetrated the array in one fell swoop and went inside. Then the scene inside came into view. In the center of the courtyard, a beautiful woman was meditating. Her body was emitting a dazzling white light. The light attribute energy was coming from inside. At the same time, waves of thunder attribute energy were constantly being absorbed into her body. However, this absorption messed up her physique. Now she was in a rather bad situation, and had been in a rather chaotic state. The girl from before said worriedly, "Miss, you must be all right." This girl could not help at all. Her cultivation level was only at the Divine Lord level, so she naturally could not help much. Tianyan frowned. If this continued, his body might explode. Is she trying to absorb the thunder attribute core and attach it to her body? Light attribute? This idea is really bold. She obviously has a light attribute physique. Why does she want to cultivate a thunder attribute? Chapter 1436. If the light attribute woman before him didn't help him, there was a high chance that her body would explode. The lightning attribute was very unfriendly, especially to her. It was quite unfriendly. Her cultivation was not weak. She was an early-stage Empyrean. In the Myriad Realm's sacred realm, that was considered a pretty good cultivation. He did not expect her to live here. She must have stayed here for the lightning core. Otherwise, with her cultivation, she could definitely stay in a pretty good faction. Being a 5th grade core would not be a problem at all. Tianyan hesitated about whether to go over and help. But what if he caused a misunderstanding by rushing in? Especially now, it was still within control. She might be able to hold on. If he rushed in and disturbed her, it would easily enrage her. Hence, he decided to observe the situation first. If she could not hold on, he would rush in to help. Only by saving a life could he maximize the benefits. After deciding, Tianyan stayed by the side to observe the situation. As time passed, the lightning attribute energy became more and more violent. Vaguely, it began to become chaotic in her body. Out! At this time, the woman stretched out her hand. 2 Empyrean spirit treasures flew out and circled around her. Following that, a steady stream of energy surged in all directions, suppressing the lightning power. Under the influence of the Empyrean spirit treasures, the lightning power was rapidly suppressed, turning into softer lightning power that flowed into her body. Everything looked so smooth, as if there were no major problems. After she controlled it, she continued to guide the lightning power into her body, rapidly transforming it. Tianyan narrowed his eyes and observed. It seemed like she had finally been subdued. This way he would not have a chance to make a move. But after a while, the lightning power continued to wreak havoc in her body, bouncing up and down. Suddenly, the woman spat out a mouthful of blood, staining the floor in front of her red. Her face turned pale. "Master!" The girl beside her was pale. She wanted to help but did not know where to start. The woman's body went limp and she collapsed to the ground. She had actually fainted. At the same time, the lightning power kept coming out of her body, burning her body. If this continued, her body would definitely be burnt to a crisp. Tianyan's eyes narrowed as he quickly rushed outside and kicked open the door. Boom. The loud sound scared the little girl silly. As for the woman, she had no reaction at all. She had already fainted, so there was nothing she could do even if she wanted to fight. Why are you rushing in?" The girl reacted quickly and blocked Tianyan, not letting him get close to her master. "Do you want to see your master die?" Tianyan asked in a low voice. "No, I don't want to, but your cultivation level is about the same as mine. Can you save master?" The girl's cultivation level was at God Monarch level 5. Tianyan's cultivation level was indeed not much higher than hers. Even she couldn't save him, so how could Tianyan? "Since you think so, then watch your master die." Tianyan was too lazy to move. Anyway, if the other party died, he wouldn't suffer any huge losses. The girl's face turned pale. She looked at Tianyan, then at her master. Finally, she knelt on the ground and begged, "Please save my master." She could also see that if her master continued like this, the situation would become very bad. His life might even be in danger. She had no way to save him. Seeing that Tianyan said so, she could only try her best. At least she had to wait by the side like an idiot. Even if Tianyan didn't come in, She could only seek help from others. Otherwise, her master would definitely die. All right, then I will take a look at the situation now. Tianyan took a step forward and arrived beside the girl. Without any hesitation, he reached out to grab her arm. No, the girl hurriedly shouted. There were so many lightning bolts above. If she tried to grab it directly, she would definitely be electrocuted half to death. How could she save him then? Tianyan didn't seem to hear her, and reached out to grab her arm. Seeing that she couldn't stop him, the girl could only close her eyes in pain. Then, she didn't hear any screams or the sound of Tianyan falling to the ground. She slowly opened her eyes. What she saw wasn't a burnt corpse, but the lightning in her master's body. It was rapidly being extracted and surging into Tianyan's body. Not to mention burning him, not even a hair on his body was hurt. Tianyan had a huge lightning planet in his body. He didn't feel any pressure when absorbing it. How could anything happen to him? This was why he dared to save her. He had a strong lightning planet in his body. Not only would he be fine after absorbing it, it could also help him cultivate. How reckless. In order to break through, he actually used such a risky move. Tianyan frowned. While absorbing the power of lightning, he immediately felt that the situation in her body wasn't very ideal. Her goal was simple. She wanted to condense a lightning planet and use 2 planets to help her break through. Having 2 planets was extremely difficult. Not everyone was like Tianyan, who could have multiple planets. It wasn't a problem with the system, but his physique was suitable for having multiple planets. Some were not very suitable. Forcefully absorbing the core energy to condense a planet was an act of courting death. I don't know where she got this method. Light attribute physique to absorb the lightning planet. Tianyan thought about it. This method seemed feasible. Combining lightning and light would be the ultimate lightning. This sounded good, but it was extremely difficult to actually do it. This girl's situation was more difficult for such a fusion, but she still tried it. The result was obvious. She was electrocuted. If he hadn't been by her side, she would definitely be dead. Unless the girl immediately went to ask for help. Coincidentally, that person cultivated the lightning attribute. This underground was a lightning attribute core. It didn't mean that they needed to absorb the power of lightning. Even if it wasn't lightning, they could still absorb it and convert it into the energy they needed. After all, this was a 5th grade energy. The effects of absorbing it were naturally different. As time passed, the power of lightning in the girl's body was rapidly absorbed. She was basically fine. All that was left was to slowly recuperate. It wasn't difficult. It's about time. Tianyan slowly let go and gestured to the girl beside him. You can bring her back to her room. She just needs to rest for a while or feed her some healing elixirs. Thank you, Lord. When the girl saw that she was fine, she knelt down excitedly and kowtowed to Tianyan. Even if their cultivation levels were similar, this ability was enough for her to kowtow in gratitude. Chapter 1437. When Tianyan asked the girl to bring the woman back to the room to rest, he stayed by the side, waiting for the woman to wake up. He came to save people, not out of kindness, but for the light core, otherwise he would not have rushed over. There were so many houses nearby. He could not check them one by one, right? If not for the overflow of energy, this woman would not have been able to escape. Ding, successfully treated Feng Qiuzun, received 1000 compressed crazy point, 50 prestige point, and 50 friendliness point. The extra treatment task reward popped up, made him raise his eyelids. He had saved others before, but he did not get any rewards. Usually he would get a one-time title or something like that after saving a lot of people, but now it was directly accurate to a single person. Moreover, this was not a task, it was just a simple reward for saving people. It was not like the previous task of saving people. This made him feel strange. Why was it so special? Strange, why did she get this treatment? Tianyan turned his head to look at the room. After passing through the door, he listed out the details of Feng Qiuzun. Feng Qiuzun. Rogue cultivator, always willing to help others, wholeheartedly kind, saved countless people, called Heavenly Savior. When she was born, she had a light core in her body. Her cultivation reached the early stage of Upper Heavenly Lord, specializing in light attribute power. After seeing the detailed information, Etianyan was really shocked. Heavenly Savior, he did not know how many people she had saved to get such a title. The key was that she was born with a light core. It was simply heaven-defying. It meant that she was born with a golden spoon in her mouth. She had an absolute advantage. She was definitely a genius among geniuses. This kind of genius, and also a rogue cultivator, it was simply incredible. She did not join any forces, and now she almost died here. It was really not good karma. If he was not here, no one would know if she died. No, maybe a good person would not let her die. Etianyan shook his head. It seemed that Feng Qiuzun was saved by him. Maybe the heavens arranged for him to save people like this? Maybe this was the reason why he was able to get this experience. It was a relatively unique reward. He just stayed there, and did not do anything. He was like a protector guarding the door. After a few days, a grateful voice came from behind him. Thank you, fellow Taoist, for saving me. If it weren't for your help, I'm afraid I would have died a long time ago. Etianyan turned his head to look, and saw Feng Qiuzun walking out. Her face was still pale. These injuries were not so easy to recover from. His body had nearly exploded. How could a simple pill heal him so quickly? At the very least, it would take some time for him to fully recover. You don't have to be so courteous. Actually, I came here with a purpose. I just happened to sense a trace of a strange energy aura, so I came to rescue you. Etianyan immediately stated his purpose. He didn't like to beat around the bush. Purpose? I don't know what fellow Taoist's goal is, but as long as I do my best, I can satisfy you. Feng Qiuzun smiled faintly, looking extremely pure and holy. Etianyan could feel that he was about to be healed. This powerful light attribute energy felt like it could purify one's soul. This was truly a ray of light. A light that could illuminate the world and deliver all living beings from suffering. What a strong mental force. It's like Guanyin is alive. Etianyan's heart trembled. This kind of light that could purify one's soul. If one was illuminated for a long time, they would really become desireless. This was the power of the light attribute. It had the effect of holy light. This kind of energy that was filled with affinity would definitely have countless followers who would pledge their lives to serve her. If she could join any force, she would definitely become a great help, comparable to a saintess. In the Three Realms God domain he already had a saintess, and that was Jiulingyun. But if she were to join, she would be the second saintess, and this saintess influence was absolutely shocking. If Jiulingyun was the saintess of the Three Realms God domain, then Feng Qiuzun was equivalent to the saintess of the fourth grade God domain. Her scope was extremely vast. Immediately, he had the intention to rope her in, especially when he saw that she was a rogue cultivator. It meant that he could rope her in. He could feel that it was not Feng Qiuzun doing this on purpose, but it was released from her heart, and this was related to the light core in her body. Sensing carefully, the light core in her body was at least at the 7th grade. It was definitely a heaven-defying level. His 5 elemental cores were at the 6th grade. It was already shocking enough. Feng Qiuzun's core was at the 7th grade. She was a monster among monsters. This immediately made him feel that there was always someone better. There were all kinds of geniuses. The Feng Qiuzun in front of him was at most 1,000 years old. A 1,000-year-old Empyrean, and a rogue cultivator. It was truly inconceivable. Actually, my goal is very simple. I just want you. Etianyan had just finished when the girl's expression changed. Impudent. This lord. Even if you saved my master, you can't be so impudent. The girl flew into a rage. A divine monarch could save a person, but an Empyrean was too much. There were countless people who wanted to marry Feng Qiuzun, but could not do it. A divine monarch wanted to reach the heavens in one step? Feng Qiuzun stretched out her hand to stop her, indicating for her not to say more. This Dao friend has not finished speaking. Xiao Yuan, don't be rash. Yes, master. The girl could only retreat obediently. No, I didn't say anything wrong. I want you. Etianyan smiled as he repeated. You. The girl immediately exploded. Master, look. This fellow is a rude person. He must have seen you living in seclusion here. That's why he barged in. Feng Qiuzun still maintained her faint smile, not angry at all. She had seen too many such things. Some were indeed disgusting, but the Tianyan in front of her. She really could not bring herself to hate him. The main thing was that when Tianyan said such words, his eyes were extremely clear, without any filth at all. This kind of gaze without filth, the true meaning was definitely not so. Cough cough, don't be agitated. What I mean is indeed so. What I want is Feng Qiuzun to join my force. It's that simple. Tianyan spread out his hands helplessly. His words just did not explain clearly. The girl exploded in anger again, her face flushing red. She did not expect Tianyan to say such things. She had thought too much. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.